Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everybody. Iran is currently, as we speak, bombing American bases in Qatar. We're fucked. Oh, Jesus Christ. Dude, I don't like being right. I don't like it anymore. I really don't. I really don't like being right. It was so much fun when I was just predicting things and the things weren't happening. Iran strikes U.S. base in Qatar. Beanie! Bean! Hi, buddy. Hi, buddy. Trump was in the Situation Room. I did not see that. According to Axios, Iran launches missiles at United States military bases in the Middle East. Iran launched multiple missiles against American bases in the Middle East on Monday in retaliation to the U.S. airstrike on its nuclear facilities. At least 10 missiles were launched toward Qatar, and at least one missile launched toward Iraq. Oh, fuck. Yo, guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. I'm literally faster than mainstream media. It's going to be really hard to pull up any sort of video coverage from, like, CNN or MSNBC. It's going to be next to impossible to pull this up because they do not fucking cover this shit.
We know that obviously Hamas and Hezbollah have been severely degraded. I should just say that we're now hearing an alert,
right,
which is an indication that
Beanie.
So these are the alerts that go out.
I'm looking now, major cases of GPS jamming in Qatar and other Gulf states. Iran is bombing Qatar. Let's bring in now Chief National Security Correspondent Jennifer Griffin at the Pentagon. You and I started talking about this about more than an hour ago now. Are we where your sources are telling you that we thought we'd be? Have we gone someplace that we're at least prepared to deal with?
Well, Harris, right now what we can tell from open source reporting on Twitter, you can see imagery of about what we're told from Israeli sources are 6 ballistic missiles that have been fired from Iran towards Qatar. As you know, as we discussed, the Al Udeid base, the largest U.S. Base in the Middle East, is about 40 miles from the capital of Qatar, from Doha. You can see the night skies over Doha right now, and there are explosions in the air. Some of those may be air defense missiles, Patriot missiles, trying to intercept those ballistic missiles. We have no indications of impact at this point. As you and I discussed before, there were satellite images from last week of Al Udeid, where the U.S. normally has a large number of transport planes, refueling planes, that those tarmacs had been emptied of those warplanes. But Al Udeid normally would have 10,000 U.S. troops based there. There had been warnings to U.S. embassy staff to shelter in place and at other embassies across Doha. We also now are learning that the airspace over UAE, the United Arab Emirates, where the United States military has another large military base, that airspace has been closed. And we also understand there could be an imminent threat to U.S. troops and personnel at bases in Iraq. That, if you remember, just 5 years ago, Iran fired ballistic missiles, dozens of them at U.S. troops in the wake of Qasem Soleimani's killing. So a lot of intelligence warnings. We brought it to you on air just a little while ago, and now it seems
you guys know that I
those
was
explosions
literally
are being heard
about to go to the
over
gym.
the capital of Qatar.
About to go to the gym. I had to cancel my fucking workout.
You readied us for, exactly who would be still there, and you're furthering that now to let us know who's able to get out and who's expected
we are now
to be
at 10
right now. 6 missiles may not sound a lot.
I told you guys. I told you guys the other day, I said, we are at a 9 because of the American bombing, and if American troops are bombed back, we hit 10. We need to find out the after action report. If American soldiers were killed, prepare for a new 25-year-long war.
Harris, the difference between Qatar and Israel is that it's just a few-minute flight for both short-range and medium-range
so both
ballistic
kinds.
or cruise missiles. You
Right.
also could be having, and my guess right now, based on the way the Iranians have been behaving in terms of targeting Israel, you may also have swarming drones that could overwhelm any air defense system.
Luigi,
so obviously, the U.S.
come
military,
here.
U.S. Central Command has been preparing for this moment. They have been setting up air defenses. Al Udeid would be one of the most protected bases that the U.S. has, but they also have long known that they are sitting ducks there, and so therefore, right now we have to just see if any of those ballistic missiles or cruise missiles got through.
All right, Jennifer Griffin, stay where we can get you. I know you will as the news warrants. We'll bring you back. Appreciate you. We'll be back in a moment with more Outnumbered.
Oh, fuck.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.
When did it go from Qatar to Qatar? Qatar's actually how you pronounce it. Americans such as myself call it Qatar. Oh, fuck. This is all coming while the previous son of the Shah in Iran is getting ready to take over. Dude. It's happening right now. It's happening right now to the point where there's almost no coverage. What do you mean by hit 10? 10 out of 10 means we are in a new world war. That's what 10 out of 10 means. We are now officially in a world war. Oh, Jesus Christ. 6 missiles. 6 missiles launched. We don't have the fucking Iron Dome around our goddamn bases. Will this get NATO involved? Yes. If a single American soldier is killed in this bombing, we will invoke Article 5. We will call upon every single NATO nation to join this conflict. Missed the weekend stream. We took out the leader of Iran. No, it's unconfirmed reporting. Israel claims that they may or may not have taken out the supreme leader. Chris, they're being intercepted in Doha. Let's find out. Oh, let's see. Iran fires missiles at U.S. targets in Qatar and Iraq after the U.S. hits nuclear sites. Iran's top security body says the armed forces used the same number of bombs that the U.S. used on their nuclear facilities. Qatar air defenses intercept missile attack on U.S. military base, Al Jazeera. Do they have this live? Iran's armed forces say the U.S. regional bases are a major weakness and thwart on the side in the U.S. warmongering regime, not strength. That is absolutely true. We are too scattered around the globe in order to give, like, the same equal amount of defense to different bases. There are only 12 nations on planet Earth that don't have U.S. military bases in them. Coffee is great, but make sure you drink water, too. No, you're right. I haven't had any water today. I will get some water. You are correct. Oh, my God. And this is... Oh, my God. And Trump says... Look at this. Why shouldn't there be regime change? Trump says. U.S. President Donald Trump suggested that Iran might require a regime change in its current leadership, unable to make Iran great again. Oh, my God. 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 This motherfucker is about to start a goddamn nuclear war. This motherfucker is about to start a nuclear war. Did I hear the former President Medvedev from Russia casually throwing around the N-word, nuclear, and saying that he and other countries would supply nuclear warheads to Iran? Did he really say that, or is it just a figment of my imagination? If he did say that, and if informed, please let me know immediately. The N-word should not be treated so casually. I guess that's why Putin's the boss. By the way, if anyone thinks our hardware was great over the weekend, far and away the strongest and best equipment we have, 20 years advanced over the pack, is our nuclear submarines. They are the most powerful and lethal weapons ever built and just launched the 30 Tomahawk missiles. All 30 hit their mark perfectly. So in addition to our great fighter pilots, thank you to the captain and the crew. All right, so that is a threat of bombing Russia. That is a threat of bombing Russia. I'd also like to point out this extremely long hyphen. That is indicative of using a AI bot. People use the short dash. This is indicative that this was written by ChatGPT. If you know much about AI, yes, this is indicative that this was written by ChatGPT. Oh my God, he posts so much. He posts so much, dude. Thank you for the 3-member loyalists. Hope you're all right today. Thank you very much, Mira Mayer. Hi, Bean. Having a panic attack? Panic, panic, panic. I'm totally kidding. You're fine. Trump says regime change in Iran is okay. Iranian nuclear sites totally obliterated. Dude, this is exactly what I said would happen. Trump is going to declare victory. Iran is going to strike back. Oh, God. He's so fucking stupid. Got any tips to dodge the draft? Yes, enlist into either the Coast Guard or the National Guard. If you're already enlisted, they can't draft you into the front. Oh, God almighty. Oh, God almighty. Let's see what Fox is doing live. Let's see. Fox News.
Threatened to assassinate their leader. Actually, Donald Trump called the assassination off. So,
and by the way, they're trying, yeah.
Meanwhile, they're trying to assassinate him. So don't try to put us on the same.
Because that would risk their own survival. Diane?
And Ian, how are they trying to ride that line, particularly in their messaging now?
It's had two statements, one from the Iranian Air Force and another, more importantly, from the Secretariat of the Supreme National Security Council. This is a governing body for matters of national security.
Bin Laden just dropped.
As the title suggests. But
hey, guys, look. New Bin Laden just dropped. If you
at least in normal times,
if you remember the war on terror and the way that they would blast this guy's face out here, this is what's happening right now. They are painting this man to be the new Bin Laden. Get ready for the most insane propaganda campaign painting this man out to be like fucking Bin Laden.
The U.S. airbase in Al Udeid. Well, that's clearly probably not going to be the case, and we have to wait and see what damage was inflicted on it. But interestingly, they also say the number of missiles used in this quote, successful operation was the same as the number of bombs that the U.S. had used.
Can NATO refuse Article 5? Not without risking being removed from NATO.
Here's a clear tit for tat. As I said earlier, I was in Iraq when there was retaliation by Iran for the assassination of General Soleimani. That was a calibrated response. And if they fired an equivalent number back, that might also be construed as a calibrated response, but that lies in the hands of the Trump administration. They've already put themselves out there saying
sorry about that,
reaction will be met by an even greater response.
Thank you for the $5.
As James says, I think it's right. I think the regime has to portray strength domestically. It's under huge amounts of pressure. It's in disarray. Many of its leaders have been killed.
Does Article 5 even apply when the U.S. is the aggressor? Yes.
They continue to exercise, so it will do that. It will also be succor to their supporters throughout the region. Don't forget, at Friday prayers last Friday, we saw large-scale demonstrations, tens of thousands of people gathered around the Arab world in support of Iran. And this will also send a message to them, as well as, of course, to Iran's proxies. Just to go on to
Iran just earned so many brownie points with the rest of the Muslim world. You have to understand that if Iran successfully bombs a base, like we don't shoot down one of those missiles, the rest of the Arab world is going to finally see, like, oh my God, the United States is not invincible. It is not impenetrable. They can bleed. That's the whole thing. Remember that scene with Thanos against everybody? And he goes, all that just for a drop of blood. Well, you know what that is? That's proof that you bleed. And that is what the Muslim world is about to see.
Syria.
And Ian, we're now hearing from the Qatari Defense Ministry. They say that the Qatari Air Defense has successfully intercepted a missile attack targeting Al Udeid Air Base. Again, that is the largest U.S. air base in the Middle East. This news from Qatar comes after Iran had announced that it had launched that attack. I want to bring in our chief foreign affairs anchor, Martha Raddatz. Martha, you've spent a lot of time in this region. What do you make of this announcement now from the Qataris saying that they successfully intercepted this attack, and what does that mean for future retaliation?
It was a calibrated attack on Iraq. Ian was in Iraq at the time. I was in Iran.
We're going to find out, Barnard. We're going to find out.
Lines, essentially, when they launched those missiles toward the airbase in Iraq, and that did leave 100 troops with mild traumatic brain injury.
So this says, Qatar Defense Ministry says it intercepted Iranian missile attack. No casualties reported. Iran launched a powerful and destructive attack on an air base in Qatar, Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps says. The Islamic Republic of Iran, relying on Almighty God and the faithful, proud people of Iran, will never leave any aggression against its territorial integrity, sovereignty, or national security unanswered, the statement read. U.S. personnel at embassies in Qatar and Bahrain are in duck and cover positions. Jesus Christ.
He has very much said that the U.S. would respond with strength. And the U.S. and Donald Trump are certainly in a position where they would have to follow through with that threat as well.
And I want to bring in Colonel Stephen Ganyard into the conversation as well. Colonel,
Qatar says it reserves right to respond after Iranian attack on U.S. military base in Doha. Qatar said on Monday it reserves the right to respond directly and in accordance with international law after Iran targeted the Al Udeid U.S. military base in Doha. Okay, so now Qatar's in the fight. So now Qatar is in the fight. Another nation just joined the conflict, and these stupid motherfuckers, thank you for becoming a loyalist, Daniel, these stupid motherfuckers in my chat are gonna go, oh, you can't really call it a fucking world war. That's the 10th nation. That is the 10th nation that has been dragged into this fucking war. Iran's top security body says missile strikes are not threat to friendly and brotherly Qatar. So now they're trying to earn brownie points with Qatar. Oh, Jesus, 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 Jesus. Tehran fires missiles at the United States targets in Qatar and Iraq after the United States cuts nuclear sites.
Is to shoot two for every one incoming to make sure that they hit that missile.
What did you miss? You missed Iran bombing U.S. military bases in Qatar and Iraq.
Iran was that
3 bases.
If they're going to shoot at other countries, even though those are U.S. bases, they are shooting at Qatar. They are declaring war on Qatar. They shoot at UAE or KSA.
Did you just say they're declaring war on Qatar? Did you just say that by firing missiles into Qatar, that's a declaration of war? So, by that logic, that means when we bombed Iran, that was a declaration of war, right? Because you can't fucking have it two different ways. If bombing a nation is a declaration of war, which it fucking is, then we declared war on Iran. We are the fucking aggressor.
Striking Iran from their air bases since Iran has struck them first.
And we can actually see now some of those explosions over the sky in Doha, over that U.S. military base. And now we're hearing that President Trump is meeting with top advisors
I had
at the White
shit
House
coming out of my booty hole when I got this news, and it flew out of me. Flew.
This was a meeting that was on the president's schedule initially. It was supposed to be happening starting at 1 p.m. here at the White House in the Oval Office. We are now told that this meeting with the president's national security team has now been moved to the Situation Situation Room. I was told by a senior administration official not too long before we came on the air, as we were hearing about these strikes, that the president and the White House, the Department of Defense,
it's not official, Chris. Yes, it is. This is official. Yes, it is.
Including at this air base. So now we are told by a senior defense official right now that Secretary Hegseth, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs Canes, are currently in the Situation Room meeting with the president. And as you can imagine, one of the things that they are going to be mulling over in this moment right now is how the United States is going to respond to this. Yes, they were anticipating some of this because Iran, in the lead up before the president even made a decision on whether or not he wanted to strike, was very forceful in their warnings to the United States, making it clear that strike would be met with strike, that war would be met with war, blow with blow. They warned that repeatedly. And the president, after giving the green light, moving forward with this military strike over the weekend, then put out another warning to Iran, telling them to come to the table, that diplomatic options are still available, that they want to explore diplomacy with Iran. But he did send out that very firm warning, saying that future attacks would be far greater and a lot easier. During the Pentagon press briefing over the weekend, we heard directly from the chairman of the Joint Chiefs as well as the Secretary of Defense. They reiterated what the president said in his social media posts and also to the nation, warning of against retaliation to Iran. They said it would be in poor choice, in poor favor. But right now we know the president is still inside this meeting in the Situation Room with his national security team. Diane.
Meanwhile, James, Iran must be considering their next move as well. And it's not just military. One of the big concerns is that they could...
Sarah says, I'm 19. I have my life ahead of me. And now there's this. Oh, you're 19? Sounds draftable, Sarah.
That could disrupt global trade.
Hey, listen. Y'all feminists wanted equal rights. Equal rights is equal fights. So y'all motherfuckers, you're going to Tehran too. It's not just going to be us, okay?
Necessarily, but Donald Trump was keen about this particular possibility.
What do you think Trump will do in response? Probably bomb Iran again, but this time bomb the capital. I bet you he will bomb Tehran.
He said, there's what Iran does, I suppose, as spectacle, as theatre, and I would suggest perhaps that shooting missiles at an airbase in Qatar, which it likely knows most of those missiles will get shot out of the air. That's the kind of thing it can sell to its domestic audience. Cutting the Strait of Hormuz.
All of this has to do with this area here. The Strait of Hormuz, okay? We get an absolute fuckload of oil from this region and parts of this region. All of that oil flows through the Strait of Hormuz. The Iranians have almost full control over it. This is their border. It's right on the strait. The Iranians can shut down the Strait of Hormuz, which will literally quadruple the price of oil worldwide. The whole reason why this is happening is because that black gold underneath the fucking earth, oil.
Will stop with Qatar. We've heard speculation that there could be other bases around the region struck. We know that Iran has form hitting bases, for example, in Iraq, where I am now, as I was telling you just a few moments ago. So it's
Bahrain and Kuwait are hit too. Jesus Christ.
And we did report last week about aircraft being removed from that airbase as a precaution. So it sounds like the U.S. was prepared for this retaliatory strike, even if it hadn't been intercepted.
Iran about to strike U.S. They already struck them, Star. They already struck them.
Knew that this was a possibility that Iran would have to attack.
Can we get a "I'm not dying for Israel" in the chat? Can we get a whole bunch of spam? A whole bunch of "I'm not dying for Israel" in the fucking chat?
Dangerous one.
Need that flying down the fucking screen.
We did report that that base had moved nearly 30 military aircraft. They've gone to other bases as this precaution. We also know that they've sent another aircraft carrier into the region, that these aircraft carriers can carry up to 60 fighter jets. All of that to help with any operation that might pop up.
I need to record.
To respond to these types of attacks, because of course...
I need to record. We need to make a video immediately, instantly and immediately. Okay, here we go. Iran is bombing U.S. military bases in the Middle East. We have confirmation from Axios and also New York Times, many other sources. The Iranians have launched at least 6 ballistic missiles at U.S. bases in Bahrain, Kuwait, Iraq, and Qatar. Okay, this is breaking, so we don't know the aftermath. We don't know if there are any casualties. Right now, it says no casualties in Qatar. That is what's being reported. But this bombing campaign is happening as we speak, okay? We're going to dive into the news. Hi, I'm Chris Valenti. I'm a douchebag from New York who majored in history and minored in political science. There is nothing I fucking hate more than fascism, and I really want to have children, but I refuse to raise a family in a fucking fascist, authoritarian World War III style goddamn planet. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you like what you're watching. That costs you nothing, and it helps me immensely. Let's dive into it. Iran launches missiles at the U.S. military bases in the Middle East. Iran launched multiple missiles against American military bases in the Middle East on Monday in retaliation for the U.S. strike on its nuclear facilities this weekend, according to one Israeli official and one Arab official. At least 10 missiles were launched towards Qatar and at least one missile launched toward Iraq, according to the Israeli official. Quote, the White House and the Department of Defense are aware of and closely monitoring potential threats to Al-Udeid Air Base in Qatar, a senior White House official told Axios. Iranian media confirmed that an operation against U.S. military assets in the region was underway. So we've got ABC reporting this right now. They're live.
Response from the U.S. to this could trigger further events inside Iran.
Real quick, guys, if you weren't alive for, like the mid-2000s, the Great War on Terror, what you're seeing, this is the new bin Laden. Now, I'm not saying this guy is equivalent to bin Laden, but the United States is going to begin to paint this man out to be like bin Laden. They're going to claim that the supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran, is the big bad terrorist, and you're about to witness the beginning of another forever war that will send you and your cousins and your nephews and anybody and everybody that Israel deems worthy to defend the great state of Israel will be sent into the Middle East to go find, fight, and kill this fucking guy. That is, welcome to 2004. Welcome back, okay? I mean, fucking Christ, can we get Nickelback to drop a new album at least if we're gonna fucking do this? If we're going back to the fucking sandbox, could Nickelback at least drop a new fucking album for God's sake? And I don't want to hear it from you motherfuckers who say Nickelback sucks. They do not suck. Nickelback was incredible. Oh, Jesus.
What the impact has been. Let's wait to hear from the president and the defense secretary and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs.
So Trump and Hegseth and all these motherfuckers are currently having a meeting in the Situation Room, a briefing about this. As of right now, these missiles have been intercepted, but Qatar came out and said that they have the right to defend themselves because they, look. 7 minutes ago. Qatar says it reserves the right to respond after Iranian attack on U.S. military bases in Doha. Qatar said on Monday it reserves the right to respond directly and in accordance with international law after Iran targeted the Al-Udeid U.S. military base in Doha. So now Qatar is dragged into this conflict. So how many fucking nations do we have dragged into this right now? We have the United States, Israel, Iran, Pakistan, Yemen. We have proxies like Hamas, the Houthis, Shia militant groups in Iraq. Now we have Qatar. The UK sent Typhoon jets. France is going in. That's 11. Russia says they'll give nuclear warheads to Iran. That's 12. So 12 nations. We've got 12 nations. You've got to pronounce Qatar better. That's how they pronounce Qatar. That is literally how you pronounce Qatar.
We're calling an attack like this and intercepting these missiles.
Dan, obviously for decades now, the U.S. has been interested in this region and considered Iran a threat. And so all of the Gulf states are tied in with the U.S. in very intricate, very sophisticated air and missile defense systems. So there are radars and links between countries that have radars. And so what we call the air picture over the Persian Gulf is probably covered like no other place in the world. So the ability to share that information, to share inbound missiles that are coming in, to be able to hand those off to various kinds of surface air missile defense capabilities is quite extraordinary. It's like no other place in the world where you have this much information sharing between countries. The missile systems like the THAAD and the Patriot can actually do what we've seen in Israel with some of their systems, and they can actually, as they track the inbound missiles, they could actually calculate where that missile is going
Monster.
to land.
Putin said, or sorry, not Putin, Medvedev, the former president of Russia, said that he would be willing to give nuclear warheads to the Iranians, in which Trump responded already on Truth Social. $10 donation from Darth Raven. It's wild that the U.S. thinks that continuing to bomb and terrorize Iranians will help their regime change bullshit. We've already selected the new regime. It's the son of the Shah. Let me see if I could pull that up. New Shah, Iran. Yep, yeah. It's long, but this is the guy. This is the son of the former Shah of Iran before the Islamic Revolution, the Crown Prince, Iran's former Crown Prince. He's calling for regime change. This is the pro-America puppet that we have decided is appropriate. This is the American puppet that we are hoping can get it. Look at the fear in this fucking man's eyes.
خامنه‌ای همچون موشی هراسان زیر زمین پنهان شده و کنترل اوضاع را از دست داده است. آنچه آغاز شده برگشت ناپذیر است. آینده روشن است و ما با هم از این پیچ تند تاریخ عبور خواهیم کرد. در این روزهای دشوار دل من با همه شهروندان بی‌دفاعی است که آسیب دیدند و قربانی جنگ طلبی و توهمات خامنه‌ای شدند. من سالها کوشیدم تا میهنمان گرفتار آتش جنگ نشود. پایان جمهوری اسلامی، پایان جنگ 46 ساله آن با ملت ایران است. دستگاه سرکوب رژیم در حال فروپاشی است. تنها یک خیزش همگانی لازم است تا این کابوس برای همیشه پایان یابد. اکنون زمان ایستادن است. زمان بازپسگیری ایران.
It's like this was written by Netanyahu. That guy's speech sounds like it was fucking written by Netanyahu. Pahlavi, 64, fled Iran in his teens after his late father, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, was forced from power by nationwide protests against his own repressive monarchy. Oh, Jesus Christ, bro. And then Trump said some fucking crazy thing. Oh, my God. We got 16 new updates? What the fuck do you mean 16? Qatari PM. Iran strikes on U.S. base as flagrant violation of Qatari sovereignty. Oh, my God. Qatar says it reserves the right to respond. Yes, we all know that. We all know that. We all know that. We all know that. Qatar condemns Iranian attack on airbase and says it reserves the right to respond. We affirm that the state of Qatar reserves the right to respond directly, proportionate to nature and the scale of this blatant aggression, and in accordance with international law. Majid Al-Ansari, a spokesperson for the Qatari Foreign Ministry, said in a statement on Monday, "We are assured that Qatari air defenses thwarted the attack and successfully intercepted the Iranian missiles. A statement clarifying the circumstances of the attack will be issued later by the Ministry of Defense." Oh my God, the number of missiles perfectly match what we fucking fired on them. That is so fucked, dude. They are literally just being petty as shit. Give me some Axios updates. Can we get Trump to fucking say something, for God's sake? I bet you, let's see, Trump truth. I bet you he said fuck all. Yeah, he said fuck all. Get this bum out of office ASAP. Couldn't have said it better myself, Donnie. I couldn't have said it better my fucking self. Oh, jeez. Diaspora right-wing Iranians are basically the same as Florida Cubans. Yes.
Attempts to build a nuclear weapon for years, if not decades. And they shared those concerns with President Trump when he was in the region last month in Qatar.
Meanwhile, the State Department is warning U.S. citizens around the world.
In the wake of U.S. strikes on Iran, the State Department has issued a worldwide alert to Americans around the world.
Worldwide caution. The conflict between Israel and Iran has resulted in disruptions to travel and periodic closure of airspace across the Middle East. There is the potential for demonstrations against U.S. citizens and interests abroad. The Department of State advises U.S. citizens worldwide to exercise increased caution. Please read carefully our travel advisory. Worldwide caution. Thanks, Donald Trump. I would like to reiterate, every single one of you that voted for Donald Trump caused this. Every single one of you that voted for Donald Trump is the reason why we have a worldwide increased caution for U.S. citizens. You are the reason why we are headed into World War III. You are the reason why Donald Trump is dismantling the Constitution. You fucking inbred pieces of shit are the reason why our world is collapsing. You will not be forgiven, forever. You could burn the hat, you can pretend you never supported him, you can fucking live in the shadows for the rest of your life, but do us all a favor and shut the fuck up forever. If you voted for Donald Trump, do me a favor and shut the fuck up forever. You are a useless piece of shit. You are a husk. You are not important. Shut the fuck up forever.
It urges U.S. citizens to exercise caution with the potential for demonstrations against U.S. citizens and interests. It's also advising U.S. citizens in Qatar to shelter in place until further notice. The embassy there says that advisory is not due to any specific threats. Let's bring in CBS News national security contributor Sam Vinograd. Sam, thanks for your time today. What kind of precautions is the State Department talking about here?
Well, the State Department has begun actual evacuations of American citizens from Israel as the conflict with Iran has intensified. The State Department has also evacuated diplomats from certain embassies in the region. More broadly, because the threat environment is just so heightened, the State Department is really recommending that every American, whether they're visiting
What are we going to be hit with martial
country,
law? So what's going to happen is the United States, the CIA and Mossad are going to stage an Iranian sleeper cell attack in the United States mainland. By doing that, they are going to manufacture consent across the United States to deploy boots on the ground in Iran. We already have 40,000 soldiers scattered across the Middle East, thousands of which are in Israel, ready to go. You are going to witness a fake, bullshit CIA Mossad orchestrated false flag event. They will blame it on the Iranians. They will say it is a sleeper cell attack. Once that happens, Donald Trump will claim that we have been invaded by a foreign adversary. He will then use that to invoke the Insurrection Act of 1807 and declare martial law nationwide. Welcome to the Valenti Videos broadcast. I am your perfect and humble leader, Chris Valenti. I am not a genius. I just studied history and I wrote my college thesis on fascism. You never waste a good crisis. And this is a really good crisis if you are a fascist authoritarian that wants to consolidate all the power that you possibly can into the executive branch. For the next 57 days, Donald Trump has wartime powers. He does not need congressional approval to do any of these bombing campaigns. He is going to escalate this conflict as much as possible.
And U.S. critical infrastructure in the past, so that's an immediate concern. Over the longer term, certainly, security officials are worried that Iran could try to move its nuclear program underground. It certainly did lose a lot of capabilities in these strikes, in Israeli strikes. We're still waiting for the battlefield assessment on exactly how much they lost in terms of...
He just goes, why don't you cover Iran attacking Qatar? Hey, dumb fuck, what do you think we're covering right now, you literal inbred fucking grain of rice? Look at the title of the stream, you stupid fuck. Holy shit, dude. I couldn't imagine being that stupid. I couldn't fucking imagine being that stupid.
Look here at a post from Fox News as it says, breaking, explosions heard over Doha, Qatar. Source tells Fox News. Now, very limited information at this time because this is a developing story. We have continued to follow along with our sources, both at Fox News, all of our partners there.
Why are you so angry? Oh, because 77 million Americans voted for a fascist, and now I have to pay the consequences.
Did say that apparently explosions boomed in Qatar
Yo,
on Monday.
Real quick, by the way, every single person in here that voted for Donald Trump, you should be sent to the front lines of Iran. You should have to go fight against the Iranians. Do you agree? I agree. I think that we should actually publicize the voting records. We should track down every single person who voted for Donald Trump, including the 79-year-old racist white grandmother living in a trailer park, and every single one of you should be forced to go fight in the front lines.
Been advised to shelter in place due to Iranian threat or retaliation. We're working to get some more expert analysis onto the program now as we follow these very limited details at this time. I do want to bring you to this live image that we have over in Doha. Now, as I mentioned, it was a little while ago that we also reported that the Qatar Foreign Ministry said that the airspace closure in the area is a precautionary measure, also taking several of those posts that we saw over on the platform X. Qatar's foreign ministry said in a statement on its state-run Qatar news agency, quote, "This is part of a series of precautionary measures taken in response to recent developments in the region." I want to bring up this as well. A post on X from Fox News correspondent here, Lucas Tomlinson, saying the White House and the Department of Defense are aware of and closely...
Hey, do you guys want to see the person in charge of our anti-terrorism unit? Trump's new pick for anti-terrorism. You're never going to fucking believe this. No need to be afraid, guys. This is the person in charge of our anti-terrorist unit. He's now in charge of our anti-terrorism shit. What the fuck is his name? Thomas Fugate, a 22-year-old ex-gardener. This fucking kid is now in charge of our anti-terrorism office. A 22-year-old. This fucking kid. No need to be afraid. No need to be afraid, everybody. You're joking, right? Nope. Not kidding. American politician. American politician. Not kidding. Thomas C. Fugate. Let me turn off the chat just so you could see this fucking guy's picture. Here he is. American political appointee serving the United States Department of Homeland Security, whose responsibilities were expanded to include serving as the director of the Center for Prevention Programs and Partnerships. You can't make this shit up. You cannot make this fucking shit up. He succeeded the counterterrorism scholar. Holy fuck. Oh my God. You can't make this shit up. You cannot make this shit up. You cannot make this shit up, bro. We are so unbelievably fucking cooked. We are fucking
potential
deep fried.
threats to Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar.
We are deep
according
fried.
To a White House official. But continuing with some more of those closures that we reported on earlier today, as authorities, they're closely and continuously monitoring the situation, assessing developments in coordination with regional and international partners, and will provide the public with updates.
Bro is monging. He's literally mewing. He's mewing. He's 22 years old, bro. He's 22 years old. Oh, God. Oh, is this Pam Bondi in front of the fucking... No, I don't give a shit about her testimony. I don't give a fuck about her testimony right now.
Strike on behalf of Iran has ended. Foreign correspondent Marcus Moore is in Tel Aviv. Also with me, retired Army Colonel Seth Crumrick. Seth, let's go ahead and start with you. Okay, it's ended. But according to the sources I'm talking to, one of whom very close with President Trump, saying that Iran, they believe, the administration believes, could potentially hit other bases, U.S. assets in the region. So although this attack on behalf of Iran may be over, it looks like there is still concern that other assets, in particular there in the Middle East region, could be hit today.
Absolutely. I think that's a very valid concern.
All right, so it seems like the bombing for now is over. Listen, if you're watching this... Oh, we're losing frames. Okay, let me get rid of this. I have so many tabs open. Let me clear these out. Okay, if you're watching this pre-recorded on YouTube, so far, no casualties reported. Granted, the bombing just stopped 2 minutes ago, okay? We're going to get more coverage of this. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. If you're watching this live, you stay. We're going to keep on covering this. Other than that, if you want to support the channel financially, please do. This is real independent media. I have no funding. I have no none of that shit. So... help support the channel. One last favor, click that fucking video right there. I promise you it's a banger. And I know bangers. And he was an intern at the Heritage Foundation. You can't fucking make this shit up, bro. All right. Iran strikes U.S. base. Need a fucking image of it. Need a fucking image of it. Need a fucking image of it. Yep, give me this one. Save image. Your lives are getting much bigger. I suggest making chat subscribers only. Nah. No point in that. I don't want to do that. Episode 160. We're on episode 160. What's your thoughts about Iran bombing Iraq? It's Donald Trump's fault. All of this is Donald Trump's fault. Every single aspect of this is Donald Trump's fucking fault. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. All right, let's make a fucking thumbnail real quick. Get this banger out before the rest of the mainstream media covers it and paints this fucking bullshit pro-American imperialism narrative that it is our sovereign duty to protect the nation of Israel because we're biblically obligated to protect them. These fucking pieces of shit. And then our nation has the audacity to call any other nation a religious theocracy. What the fuck did I click? Fuck off. Give me back my frames. Give me back all of my frames. By the way, what you are witnessing right now is this is what I do. This is not mainstream media. This is independent media. You are watching a man who doesn't have a fucking team. This is how I create content. This is how I make the thumbnail. This is what it takes if you end up wanting to do this shit in the future. It's not the hardest job in the world, but it is incredibly fucking never-ending. It is never-ending fucking bullshit. All right. Can we get some, I gotta know, chat, do you guys genuinely support bombing Iran? I need to know. I need to know who is in support of bombing Iran. Say it confidently. No, almost all no's. Thank God. Thank you for the $10. Thummy time. Thank you for the frames. Let's see. How about Iran bombs? All right. Iran. How about oh dear God. There we go. That'll do. Download. Thank you for the $20 donation. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let's get this YouTube video uploaded. Give me back my frames. Give me back my frames. Give them back. Who the fuck just took my frames? Give me back my frames. You fucking piece of shit. All right, let's get this uploaded. We're going to lose frames while I get this uploaded, then we're going to get right back to covering the news. We're going to get right back to covering the news. Oh, okay. Cyber warfare's got to get interested. I'm getting cyber warfared right now, bro. They're cyber warfaring my shit right now. Almost done. Almost done. Almost done. Almost done. Almost done. Almost done. Okay? We just need a title to the video. All right. Yo, dude, why don't we fucking send Barron? Why don't we send Barron to the front? He's 19, right? That's perfect draft age. All right, emergency breaking. Iran just bombed U.S. bases in the Middle East. Copy. Paste. When it rains, it pours. I know, I see that we're losing viewers. I know we're losing viewers. I am almost finished. I just pasted the title and the description. Now I'm putting in the thumbnail. We're going to be done in 60 seconds and then right back to live coverage. Right back to live coverage, okay? But this is what happens when you don't have a team. See, like Hassan goes live, right? Hassan goes live for, I don't know, 8 hours, right? But he has a team of people who are uploading his videos for him while he is live. I have to do all of it myself, okay? So it takes a little bit longer, and there are pauses. Okay. Sensitive events dealing with war, death, and tragedy for a non-exploitative manner. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Most recent upload. Checks. Public emergency breaking. Iran just bombed U.S. bases in the Middle East. I want to hear the beginning of it. I've got to hear the beginning of this. I got to know if it started correct. You can use AI tools to assist you. I'd rather fucking struggle to do it myself than use a goddamn clanker. Hard R. Bombing U.S. military bases in the Middle East. We have confirmation from Axios and also New York Times, many other sources. The Iranians have launched at least 6. All right, that'll do. I know, dude, it always gets cut off at the 3rd second, so I have to start waiting 4 seconds before I speak. From now on, when I click record, I have to wait 4 seconds before I speak. All right, video's uploaded. I'm about to get all my frames back. Give me back my fucking frames. Give me back my fucking frames. There we go, we're good. Give it a second, 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 give it a second. Give me my frames. All right, computer's got to cool down. The computer's got to cool down. I just put my computer through some insane stress. Thank you for becoming a loyalist. Thank you for the $1 donation. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. Welcome to the Valenti Videos broadcast. We are the OAL, the only Americans left. We're an amalgamation of Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, Socialists, Anarchists, Communists. I don't give a fuck what you are, as long as you understand that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy and a threat to American sovereignty. He is a fascist. I'm a dumbass. I majored in history. I minored in political science. I fucking hate fascism and I fucking hate war. I was raised by a Vietnam veteran, and he taught me that he was the bad guy in that conflict, and he taught me what American propaganda truly was. My father volunteered for the Vietnam War because he was duped into thinking that it was the right thing to do. That is why I am the way I am. What's your PC setup? It's a fucking laptop. This is it's a yoga laptop, bro. This is why I always tell you, this is real independent media. I have no funding, okay? These motherfuckers get tens of millions of dollars of donations from fucking AIPAC and every other lobby. So that's why they're able to do this shit, okay? So if you want to help support the channel financially, you could donate to the channel directly. You can become a member. You can become a patron. You could buy merch. You could do everything. Valenti Videos, Fox took your thumbnail? No, they didn't. Bullshit. No, they didn't. No, they fucking didn't. No fucking shot. Fox took my thumbnail. No fucking shot. I don't see nothing. I don't see nothing. Fox News saying Trump has no interest in striking Iran. Trump has already striked Iran, so that's just incorrect. That is just a lie. Opinion doesn't matter there. He already struck Iran, so that is a lie. Hi, Beans. Oh, you're sponsored by Ground News? No, I'm not sponsored by them. They just gave me a discount code that I put into the description. Hi, Beans. Hi, handsome. Where are my frames? Did you guys take them?
Wherever you stream your news. It's the music event of summer.
Like, where the fuck are my frames? Show the animal. He's purring. Yeah, which one of you just took my frames and boofed them?
Our breaking news continues. The attack may have ended, but other attacks could come. Our airbase in Qatar coming under fire from Iran. It's the largest
first-time viewer here. I feel like I like you for the same reasons I liked Cenk back in the day, and streamers like Hassan now, you react to this insane psycho bullshit the way a normal person would. Well, that's because I am a fucking normal person.
Thousands of troops are still on high alert, though, after Iran makes its first response to President Trump with a swath of missiles targeting Al Udeid Air Base. Officials telling us all of missiles have been intercepted. No impact on that base. All help, or thanks to help from Qatar's Ministry of Defense. Video actually capturing Iran's air assault. You can actually see the projectiles flying over Doha in this video, followed by an explosion there in the sky. This comes as tensions boil over between the U.S. and Iran after President Trump ordered a strike on that country, carried out B-2 bombers, as you remember, over the weekend. President saying it obliterated Iran's nuclear materials.
For the fifth time, Qatar is pronounced Qatar. It's not pronounced Qatar. It's pronounced Qatar.
Happened. We're going to talk about this. Let's bring in our White House correspondent Karen Travers, also senior national policy reporter Ann Flaherty, and foreign correspondent Marcus Moore there in Tel Aviv. So let's go ahead and start.
I don't know why I'm continuing to mod. Chris said he has no team. Yeah, you guys are my mods, but I don't have a team for thumbnails. I don't have a team for uploading YouTube videos while I'm live. You guys are my mods. That's your job.
Situation room with the president. Do we know if they are still in the situation room, waiting for additional attacks, possibly within the region?
Kira, we believe that meeting that the president was having is still ongoing. That was a meeting that was scheduled to take place in the Oval Office. The president sitting down with his national security team. That was moved to the Situation Room as those events developed in the Middle East over the last hour plus. The president now has to make a decision, of course, about what he is going to do in response to this retaliation by Iran. He was very clear on Saturday night that Iran should not retaliate, or else it would be met by more force by the United States. The president said Iran needed to choose peace, and if it did not do that quickly, he said, we will go after other targets with precision, speed, and skill. The president said any future attacks by the United States against Iran would be far greater and a lot easier than what took place on Saturday night. So the president there saying to Iran, if you retaliate, there would be more coming. Now, it's not clear what the president will decide to do after this strike and whether this is the end of this by Iran, but the president huddled with his national security team, and we were waiting for a response from the president to what took place there in Qatar.
Got it. All right, Ann, let's take it to you over at the Pentagon. We're now getting word that Kuwait has closed its airspace. Is there concern this could be the next base?
You think the U.S. would let Iran bomb U.S. bases just to get something started? Yes, we did that in Pearl Harbor. We did that in 9/11.
To launch at Qatar.
We did that in the Gulf of Tonkin.
It was not successful in any way like Iran is claiming. We're hearing both from Qatar and the U.S. That there were no casualties, no damage. Can you confirm?
Yeah, we are hearing from officials at this time that they are not tracking any casualties in that attack. And the concern is that they want to, of course, keep it limited. They do not want to see this happen to other bases, so they are obviously on high alert. We are told that they aren't tracking
Brother, this
any
isn't
other
Fox,
attacks at
Anna.
this time. We do know that short-range and medium-range missiles, as you mentioned, were used in this attack on the Air Force Base in Qatar. Again, this is the base that is essentially the nerve center for the U.S. Central Command to launch look at any kind of air traffic. It would have been really playing a critical role in that attack that the U.S. launched against the Iranian nuclear facilities. So really a critical nerve center there for U.S. Central Command. And then, of course, there's concern about the other 40,000 troops in the region, troops in Kuwait.
Pearl Harbor, we let Japan bomb Pearl Harbor. Yes. FDR was well aware that the Japanese had launched an attack on Pearl Harbor, and instead of calling the island, he wrote a letter of warning and sent it through the U.S. postal system. That letter showed up at Pearl Harbor the day after the attack. By allowing Japan to attack us in Pearl Harbor, where we conveniently had our largest aircraft carriers on a training mission outside of Pearl Harbor so that they wouldn't get hit, that enraged the American populace. It is called manufacturing consent. It manufactured consent from America to go to war with Japan. Most Americans had no idea that Japan had an alliance with Germany, and by going to war with Japan, we would be provoking Germany. Hitler then declared war on the United States. It is the only nation he ever declared war on. That is how we got involved in Europe in World War II.
And Iraq. So, a lot of
potentially targets of Iran. And we have seen the response to that threat tonight, as we know that the airspace has been closed in Kuwait. It's the same story in Bahrain, where the airspace has been temporarily closed. All of it surrounding this threat of further attacks. Because
how about 9/11? Exact same story during 9/11. There's even footage of Bill Clinton saying that we want to invade Iraq back in 1993. We have, yes, it's the exact same story. Same thing with the Gulf of Tonkin.
They heard that the airspace had been closed, but then the next warning they had were the explosions. They looked up and saw the air defense system at work there, and then those interceptions taking place. And then certainly they described it as very scary. And as they watched this unfold, so it seems like there was very little warning that this was going to happen, and so that gives you some sense of what it was like for people who were just living their lives in Doha on a calm night that has turned into a bit of chaos. And certainly we know that
how long do you think
over.
Until we see boots on the ground? 7 days.
There are still restrictions for people, officials urging them to stay home, not to go to work. Also, the schools remain closed.
The Gulf of Tonkin was how we manufactured consent to go to war in Vietnam. We claimed that a whole bunch of American ships were fired upon by North Vietnamese boats, and then we found out years later that that never fucking happened. A big part of the reason why my father volunteered to fight in Vietnam was because of the alleged Gulf of Tonkin massacre.
There's more proof
never
of the
happened.
Violence that Iran is a terrorist state that threatens not just Israel, but the
okay,
entire
so
Middle
now the
East.
U.S. State Department is preparing to declare that the entire nation of Iran is a terrorist state. This is intentional because you do not need congressional approval to go to war against a terrorist organization. Donald Trump does not care about Congress. Despite the fact that Iran is a full-functioning nation with 92 million people in it, with a fully functioning military, he is going to declare that the Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei is actually a terrorist and that everyone in Iran is a terrorist. This is how you manufacture consent without congressional approval for a war in Iran.
Substantially
the
set
Nimitz
back.
is going to be the
And then
false
our
flag.
own
It's in
Mick
Israel's
Mulroy,
playbook.
who is former CIA
I don't know, man. I know that the
Special
Israelis
Forces
bombed
officer,
the USS Liberty, but I don't know if they would actually bomb an American fucking ship. That's insane.
3 to 5 years. Well, my next guest is not only a retired Air Force fighter pilot with air dominance.
Did anyone declare war? When the U.S. bombed Iran, that was an official declaration of war. Whether the United States government claims it was or not, if you bomb another nation, that is a declaration of war.
Air Force officer and defense specialist Jeffrey Needles joining me now. So, Jeffrey, let me just start with how will we know that the strikes that were made on the locations in Iran actually contained nuclear materials and were effective? Because as you know now, Iran is coming forward saying, no, we moved all those materials before the bombing happened. So I guess maybe you should gut check me there. Do you believe that's true?
Think your dad could have been a socialist?
And then explain to me,
no, he
how
just
do we
fucking
know
hated
what
the
was
government.
hit and if it was effective?
Yeah, thanks, Kara. You know, the intel community is going to be looking at overhead imagery and target pod footage to assess damage on these facilities. They're also going to be working in a slightly other piece
Can you
of the
explain
spectrum.
what's going on in 20 seconds or less? Yeah, sure. Iran is retaliating against the United States' bombing of their nuclear facilities. Iran decided to launch multiple ballistic missiles at American air bases in the region of the Middle East, bases in Qatar, bases in Iraq, bases in Bahrain, bases in Kuwait. And because of that, America is going to respond even more. Trump came out recently and said that if Iran responds in any way, shape, or form to our illegal bombing of their nuclear facilities, that he will crank up the dial and fuck them up. So, we are escalating this conflict, and this is it. Do you think they can actually impeach Trump now? We impeached Trump twice during his first term. Donald Trump is the only president in American history to be impeached twice. He is also the only president in American history to be impeached and then not step down from office for a legitimate reason, other than Bill Clinton getting impeached for having a fucking blowjob, which is the stupidest shit I ever heard in my life. Hi.
You know, in the moment, intel that national assets are assessing, but because they had spent so much time trying to fortify these underground sites, and it seemed that we took them by surprise. I have hopes that we did manage to get after all of it, if not all of it.
How can we fully
really,
remove him? You can't. The United States has no method of removing a president. There's the 25th Amendment to vote for no confidence, but you would need every single member of his cabinet to vote unanimously in agreement to remove him from office. That will never happen. People like Stephen Miller, RFK Jr., Pete Hegseth, they will never turn against him.
Yeah, you know, after the wars of 2003, we found that some of our hardened target weapons, or bunker busters, everybody likes that term, just weren't actually quite as effective as we'd hoped they were.
Hi, Chris. I hope you step on a Lego. That is a threat of death. You just threatened me with death. That's insane.
Penetrator, which was specifically designed to go after these deep underground targets like the Fordo uranium enrichment facility. This is truly a bespoke weapon for this specific target set. The bomb itself, it's a 27,000-pound ferrous cobalt bomb body, and I think you have some imagery there. And it's designed to drive at least 200 feet into concrete and earth to deliver its 5,000-pound payload intact to be able to effectively explode and get after those facilities.
Got it. Something, and I know, you know, a lot of people just don't understand this like you do, but a lot of people have been asking, hey, they blew up nuclear materials. So how do we know that there's not going to be a health hazard like Chernobyl? Folks that don't understand operations, what do you say to the typical American that was, you know, worried about the innocent civilian in Iran when these explosions happened, and you're talking nuclear materials?
Yeah, sure. Obviously, there's concern that materials, if they're stored in vulnerable above-ground buildings, that, you know, radioactive particles could get in the air and create a plume like we saw that deposited radioactive particles over Europe after Chernobyl in '86. However, a carefully planned attack against an underground target could actually work to trap and seal in these materials under layers.
Trump posted on Truth Social. Let's see. The sites that we hit in Iran were totally destroyed, and everyone knows it. That makes me think they fucking weren't. Only the fake news would say anything different in order to try and demean as much as possible. And even they say they were, quote, pretty well destroyed. working especially hard on this falsehood is Allison Cooper of Fake News CNN, dumb Brian L. Roberts, chairman of Comcast, Johnny Carl of ABC Fake News, and as always, the losers of, again, Comcast's NBC Fake News. It never ends with the sleazebags in the media, and that's why their ratings are at an all-time low. Zero credibility. Well, I can confirm and prove that my ratings are at an all-time high. And that comes from me saying that your fucking bombing of Iran did nothing. King Doland, fat, obese, draft-dodging fascist. Did nothing. The Iranians moved their nuclear stockpile. They moved their scientists. Do you want to know why? Because the Russians were there. And you are so buddy-buddy with Vladdy Putin that we all fucking know. You told Putin. You told him. You said, get your scientists out of there, Vlad. I'm going to hit them pretty hard. And do you know what Putin did? He told the Iranians. So the Iranians moved their shit. If you ever want to know where the fucking rat is, it's in the Oval. The rat is behind the Resolute desk. The rat, the scheming, conniving fucking traitor, is the president. It is the president.
Years of Earth
to the President of the United States.
All right, so Trita, let's bring you into this now. The Iranian response appears to have caused no damage and no casualties. Do you think there is still a window for diplomacy here?
Nope.
There certainly is, and
you
as
fucking
Nick
piece
also
of
pointed
shit.
out, if it stops here, there is a chance to get back to the table. But there's a wild card in this, which is the Israelis. It's not clear to me that the Israelis want to stop.
Dude, this is like saying, hey, so Hitler bombed London, and then England, and then Winston Churchill bombed Dresden. Do you think there's a chance of negotiations now? Huh?
Want to find a way back to the table. But even if he manages to do so, if he continues to insist on the Israeli red line of no enrichment, I don't think he will get a deal. This whole episode started off with Trump shifting the goalposts.
What are the odds of them
and
lying
adopting
about
the Israeli
casualties?
red line of no enrichment
100%.
instead of the American, his original red line of no weaponization. Had he stuck with his original red line, I think there actually would have been a deal by now.
This is so fucking stupid.
And
this
Trita,
is so
while I
fucking
have you,
stupid.
because you've written a number of op-eds recently. Trump had threatened to the Ayatollah. I have eyes on you.
I'm
I
sorry,
know
Chris,
where
but
you are.
FDR
He
knowing
basically
about
was
Pearl
saying,
Harbor
I
is
can get you if I
conspiratorial,
want
brother.
you.
Not only did
And he
FDR
said,
know about Pearl Harbor, but FDR is the reason Pearl Harbor happened. We gave 80 rape of Nanking and their invasion of China came from the United States of America. We hit Japan with an oil embargo, stopped the flow of oil. Japan told us that if we do that, they're going to war with us. We did that intentionally. Not only did FDR know Pearl Harbor was happening, he created it.
War from the air. To actually do a real regime change, you would have to have troops on the ground and actually install a new government. What I think the Israelis may be
Can you turn your mic up? Yeah, a little bit. There you go.
Regime collapse, which means that you just collapse the existing regime. You don't install a new one. You don't go that far. You don't try to own the outcome. Instead, you let the chaos fester in Iran. And I think that is much cheaper for the Israelis and something that I think they would prefer, mindful of the fact that they don't have the capacity to go in with ground troops to install a new regime. Perhaps they will try to push the United States to do so. But I think that would create major problems for Trump. Because
even
at the
louder?
End of the day,
all right, how's that? Is that better?
There is a tremendous amount of apprehension in MAGA world about the United States going back into yet another regime change war in the region on the basis of accusations of nuclear weapons.
Meanwhile, this comes as the IDF is now telling us it's conducted even more extensive attacks in Tehran, 50 Israeli Air Force jets involved. We're going to follow that. Trita, it's great to have your voice. I hope you stay close to us as we continue to follow this, in particular the breaking news, and with more strikes possibly coming out of Iran, and now Israeli strikes continuing within Iran. Mick Mulroy, always great to have your expertise as well. Gentlemen, we will talk again. Straight ahead. You bet. You definitely feel that summer's here, right? Well, over half the country sure does because it's record heat.
Oh, shut the fuck up. Record heat? World War III. You're gonna cover record heat waves while fucking World War III is raging? And Diddy? You're gonna show me Diddy? Holy fuck, dude. American media is dog shit. Dog shit. Somebody goes, I care about the heat, bro. We aren't all basement dwellers. It's hot. That's the news. It's hot. Dude, I gotta see how Charlie Kirk is responding to this fucking warmongering
sort of attitude.
pro-rape
They're
piece
not,
of shit.
You can sort of tell the difference between that and real outrage that will have big diplomatic
Let's see how Charlie
consequences.
responds to this.
I think a lot of the world played wait and see on this, and what they're seeing is not
Oh, look,
so
a
bad
skinhead.
so far.
We'll go a couple more minutes. I want to remind you guys, we're going to give away 30 hats, and by the way, there's still ones left. Email us proof of subscription to the Charlie Kirk Show podcast page, freedom@charliekirk.com. We'd love to sign you a signed hat. Daisy will handle the whole thing.
Email us proof of subscription, and people have the audacity to call me a grifter.
He should have any actions following Iran's recent attacks.
He's fine in the UAE.
Yeah,
he's fine.
Things are going great.
Probably much safer than New York.
Probably safer than, well, New York's not so bad. Probably a lot safer than Chicago.
Dude, I can't get over his fucking face. His smile.
Nola's Adventures, ZAR35. I'm not sure what is that. South African Rand, I think it is. You are inspiring all around the world. May the Lord continue to use you powerfully. Thank you very much.
Oh my God, dude. These people are disgusting.
Love you, Kirk. Saw you at my job at the JW. Wish I said hi and going to buy a hat signed. Keep up the amazing work.
Yeah, you guys can also buy one, by the way. We're selling them also, but, you know, that's in the store below the YouTube channel. So, a couple more, Blake, then we got to run.
Alrighty. Timmy.
Dude, these fucking people are such grifters. Oh my God. The grift never fucking ends with these Republicans. It never fucking ends. Yeah, by the way, Charlie Kirk said that if his daughter was raped and impregnated, he would force her to give birth to the child. Oh my God.
Answered your question. As for possible meetings with Mr. Trump, well, it would certainly be highly useful. I agree with the President of the United States. It should, of course, be prepared and end with some positive results. The track is a good choice. We have spoken on the phone with President Trump several times. We have great respect for his intention to restore relations with Russia in many areas, including security and economic activity. Look, our import to the United States has decreased by 10 times, and by 4.5 times our import from the United States to Russia has decreased. The truth is that it was small. It was $27 billion, and now it has dropped by several dollars. But the truth is that over the past year, the volume of goods in circulation has increased with the United States.
A lot of people who we don't have full accounting of were let in over the last 4 years under the Biden administration. We know that some of those people were on terrorism watch lists, and this is one of the reasons why border security is national security, is if you let a bunch of crazy people into your country, those crazy people can eventually take action. We're going to do everything that we can to make sure that doesn't happen and to keep Americans safe.
There you go. The vice president yesterday on Meet the Press. The White House warning about dangers of sleeper cells lurking here in the U.S. Why would they think that? Well, for the last 4 years of Joe Biden's policies, we've let in over 1,500 Iranian nationals. This is from the Border Patrol. Bill Maloogian got this last night. And guess what? Over 700 were allowed to stay. Senate Intel Committee Chair Tom Cotton knows all about it. Senator, when you talk about reprisals, people think about sleeper cells here. Do they have a right to be concerned?
Good morning, Brian. Unfortunately, they do have a right to be concerned.
False flag.
As you said,
False
Joe Biden
flag.
had a wide-open border
False
policy
flag.
for 4 years. We know that terrorists tried to enter our country. Iran has a long history of terrorizing America going back 46 years, to include here in the United States. They tried to assassinate Donald Trump last year. Someone finally answered the call to Iran's fatwa against Salman Rushdie a few years back and brutally stabbed him. But I think it's important that we remember Iran did not become a terrorist state because Donald Trump bombed their nuclear bunkers. He bombed their nuclear bunkers because they're a terrorist state. And we cannot allow a terrorist.
Dude, 2004 propaganda is so bad. I don't know. Yo, real quick, if you can hear this and you actually like, yeah, let's go to war, yeah. Brother, fucking go to the front lines. Have a good time. I hope you have such a good time on the fucking front lines. Have fun, brave soldier. Have fun.
Joe Biden 797.
Thank you, Michaela, for becoming a loyalist.
That's the IED in human beings that the Biden administration
Trump's
left behind.
truth. He posted
Just moving ahead
again.
and talking about what's going to happen next. The foreign minister of Iran is going.
No, it's the same goddamn thing he said earlier.
Went to Russia today. And ahead of that meeting, the former president of Russia, Dmitry Medvedev, says this: the enrichment of nuclear material, and now we can say it outright, the future production of nuclear weapons will continue. A number of countries are ready to directly supply Iran with their own nuclear warheads. That is just off the charts crazy. But how do you view it?
Well, one, he doesn't have real influence inside of Russia. Vladimir Putin does. He was Vladimir Putin's puppet for 4 years when he was president during the Obama era.
That's
and
true.
Two,
That's the one true thing this guy has said so far. When Medvedev was the president, he was Vladimir Putin's puppet.
You see that kind of bluster and rhetoric because Iran is providing no real support, or I'm sorry, Russia is providing no real support to Iran. For the second time in just 8 months.
You didn't realize Russia had a previous president? Yeah, but Vladimir Putin was the vice president, and then Medvedev stepped down so that Putin can become the president again. Putin was the president, did his 2 terms. His 2 terms were over. Then Medvedev went in as the president with Putin as the VP. Medvedev was only the president for a little bit until he resigned, making Putin the president again. That's when they got rid of term limits. Thank you for becoming a loyalist, Hassan Bateman.
One of Iran's main clients in the Middle East has faced dire straits, and Russia has stood by. The first was last fall when Bashar al-Assad's tyranny fell in Syria. What did Russia do? It simply gave Assad a one-way trip to Moscow. Now, Donald Trump, after 25 years of presidents promising that Iran can't have a nuclear weapon, has finally acted on it and destroyed their key nuclear facilities and infrastructure.
How can they just take away term limits? The same way that here in the United States, they're trying to take away term limits. They proposed an amendment to the 22nd Amendment so that Donald Trump can run a 3rd and 4th term. It's already been proposed. This is what happens when you live in an oligarchy. Russia is an oligarchy. The United States is currently turning into an oligarchy. We actually may already be there. We are the equivalent of the Russian authoritarian dictatorship. Please stop pretending you live in a democracy. You do not live in a democracy. You will not be allowed to vote in 2028.
Has Russia done? Issued a strongly worded statement and welcomed Iran's foreign minister to Moscow. So I think this is mostly just bluster to cover up the fact that Russia is a pretty fickle friend to have in the world.
Senator, people like to label people like you war hawks or neocons.
Which
Lindsey
you are.
Graham,
You are a war hawk and you are a neocon.
A war hawk or a neocon?
No, Brian, I'm someone who puts America's interests first.
No, you put Israel's interests first. This is not in America's interest. You are sending our boys to go fight and die for fucking Israel. Thank you for the gifted membership, Herbal.
Donald Trump. And for 10 years.
Congratulations, Stephen Wiley. You just got gifted a membership from Herbal Leaf.
Years, like Donald Trump, I have said that Iran could never have a nuclear weapon. Iran has been terrorizing the United States and the civilized world since 1979. They have the blood of thousands of Americans on their hands.
And the Americans have the blood of literal millions of Arabs on their hands.
As President Trump has said repeatedly, so have I said, Iran can never be
Optimal
allowed
just became a loyalist. W Optimal.
to have a nuclear weapon. That means Iran cannot have any path to nuclear weapons either.
And it's personal to you. You're in the infantry. In Iraq, we've lost 600 plus guys. It's more like over 1,000, according to former Secretary of Defense Austin. And it's directly linked to Iran. And they've never been forced to pay for that. Maybe the payback begins. And I don't think that's being a war hawk. I think it's defending America. Senator Tom Cotton, thanks so much.
I don't think calling for war is being a war hawk. It's defending America. I don't know, man. I think calling for war is being a war hawk. Personally, that's what I think of when I hear somebody calling for war. What's the plan if they call you for the draft? They ain't calling me for the draft. I'm aged out. But if they do invoke the draft, I'm going to volunteer. I'm not letting you motherfuckers go in and die alone. You're going to need someone to make you fucking laugh when the bullets fly.
Bureau of Prisons has suffered mismanagement, lack of funding, and low morale. Throughout my confirmation process, BOP came up in every single meeting.
I hate this woman so
regardless of the
much.
senator's party. The president's budget proposal will address critical staffing shortages, enhance staff retention, and deliver positive changes to a system that has long needed improvements. The resources made available.
Chris, why must I suffer? Why must a 20-year-old European need to fight for the U.S. and Israel? Because the Jewish ethno-state of Israel must be defended until the last man, because we have a biblical duty to defend Israel and bring about greater Israel so that Jesus Christ can come back, open up the sky, and begin to rapture. And then he can suck up all of the God-fearing evangelical Christians and a handful of the Jews into the afterlife before Jesus Christ leads a 7-year-long war against the Antichrist, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and his army of fucking demons. That's why you must suffer, because Christians exist.
President Trump's proposal 26, the department will merge components that will work in overlapping areas and make our law enforcement and grant-making efforts more effective. We will emerge from this work as a leaner organization, better equipped to keep the American people safe.
Yeah, more like to
Chairman
keep the fucking
Rogers,
Israeli people
Ranking
safe.
Member Delora, Ranking Member Mang, it is my pleasure to highlight our efforts to be good stewards of these resources. I'm working diligently to restore confidence and integrity to the department and each of these components. Thank you for your continued support.
Oh, no.
Thank you, President. I thank you for convening this emergency open meeting.
The Chinese.
I also thank Secretary General Guterres for his statement, and ASD Yanta and Director General Grossi for their briefings. Yesterday, the United States conducted the strikes on 3.
Dude, lower his volume. If you're going to translate it, lower his volume to like 10%.
Iranian nuclear facilities.
Does anybody else find that so stupid? And by the way, just so you know, I've been in these meetings. I've been at the United Nations during fucking meetings, and you have these earpieces that silence the guy speaking, and you can only hear the translator.
Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan.
Do you feel negatively about Christianity as a whole? I think all religion is bad. I think religion has brought about more division and more bloodshed than any other creation that humanity has ever come up with. All religion is a way to explain the inexplainable, because it really fucking hurts to think about things that you can't explain, like the never-ending expansiveness of the universe, or what happens after you die. So, throughout history, people have come up with an explanation, even though they don't actually have the explanation. Essentially, somebody says, when you die, there's infinite cake. And the other guy goes, what? No, when you die, there's infinite cookies. And then they both pull out knives and they stab each other to death. Meanwhile, when you die, it's actually a never-ending dessert buffet with cookies, cake, ice cream, pie. Every fucking religion was correct, but they didn't have the full fucking story. Essentially, each religion is a puzzle piece. And instead of trying to connect the fucking puzzle pieces, we go, look, I got the puzzle. No, dumb fuck. You got a piece of the puzzle. If you stop fucking killing each other, then maybe we could solve it.
China strongly condemns the U.S. attacks on Iran. and the bombing of nuclear facilities.
That's just like your opinion, man. I got this holy book, and it says that it was written by God in the book. Shut the fuck up.
The actions of the United States seriously violate the purposes and principles of the UN Charter and international law, as well as Iran's sovereignty, security, and territorial integrity. It has exacerbated tensions in the Middle East and dealt a heavy blow to the international nuclear non-proliferation regime. The international community must uphold justice and make concrete efforts to cool down the situation and restore peace and stability. In this connection, I wish to put
God's acting like he knows more than anyone else. No, dude, you do not need to be a genius to understand that no religion is 100% correct. You actually need to be mentally insane to believe that you are 100% correct about your religious beliefs. Either you don't know what the word faith means, or you're fucking mentally disabled. Because faith means to believe in something despite the lack of evidence. If you had proof that your religion was correct, it wouldn't be impressive to believe in it, because you wouldn't need to believe in it. It's proven!
4 appeals. First, we call for an immediate ceasefire and ending the hostilities. In the context of the abrupt escalation of tensions in the Middle East, China is deeply concerned about the risk of the situation getting out of control. The parties to the conflict, Israel in particular, should reach an immediate ceasefire to prevent.
So now the Chinese are calling for Israel to reach an immediate fucking ceasefire. Jesus Christ.
Let's now switch to Israel. Go to our chief foreign correspondent, Trey Yanks. He's live in Tel Aviv with the latest, not only from Israel, but what do you make of the fact that this appeared to be a pretty limited response, Trey?
Yeah, John, good afternoon. We're getting more information from regional sources right now on this Iranian attack targeting the Al Udeid air base just outside of Doha, Qatar. The latest information that we have, according to the Qatari Foreign Ministry, they say these missiles were intercepted over the Qatari capital of Doha. They say there are no injuries on the ground, and the Qataris are condemning this attack.
Look at all these people.
launched
Somebody
by
goes,
Iran.
don't bring the religious debate bros in here. That is my, listen, this is my point. You guys are proving my point. Religion has brought about more divisiveness and bloodshed than any other creation, and you are witnessing it even in the chat. The chat is a microcosm. Everybody is willing to explain away all of this bloodshed because of their religious beliefs. At the end of the day, it all boils down to fucking religion.
On the top target list for the Iranians in any sort of response following those strikes that were ordered by President Trump to go after Iranian nuclear facilities over the weekend. We're working to get some confirmation about reports that American bases in Iraq may have been
Not
targeted.
trying to disagree, but do we have proof
again,
that the Iranians were not
we
weeks away from a nuclear weapon? That's not how the burden of proof goes. If I claim that I have a unicorn, I have to prove that I have a unicorn. You don't have to prove that I don't have a unicorn. That's not how that works. You want to know why? You can't. I have a unicorn right out of frame right there. Prove that I don't. You physically can't prove that. You can't. It is on me to prove that I have a unicorn. And until I prove that I have a unicorn, you shouldn't believe me.
To other regional airports. And again, that condemnation coming in from the Qataris. We're also monitoring Iranian state media at this hour, who says that they launched this attack, calling it the annunciation of victory. Iranian state media also saying their military says this was a devastating and powerful attack. This is not unexpected propaganda to receive from the regime in Tehran, but again, an indication that the Iranians are looking to save face following this U.S. strike that went after their nuclear facilities over the weekend. Other regional countries, including Kuwait, Bahrain, and the UAE, do remain on high alert at this hour over concern that there could be further attacks on U.S. interests in the region.
Christianity is true, though, Chris. Then why aren't you stoning yourself to death because you're wearing 2 different fabrics? According to the Bible, if you wear 2 different fabrics at the same time, I need to stone you to death.
with 13 ballistic missiles against the Ain al-Assad air base in western Iraq. And so, of course, missile defense systems across the region remain on high alert. Again, the Americans knew this was a possibility and largely evacuated much of their personnel from these areas. John, Sandra?
All right, just going through the Qatar response here. Qatar saying it reserves the right to respond after this Iranian attack. As John just reported, Qatar is saying no casualties from that attack at the U.S. military base. Thank goodness. And the top security body there, Iran's top security body there, is saying armed forces used the same number of bombs that the U.S. had used in attacking Iran's nuclear facilities. That is per the latest statement that we've been digesting, Trey. Please do weigh in on that. As John and I were just discussing, is what we're seeing, is this evidence of diminished capabilities on the part of Iran?
Look, the types of missiles that the Iranians are likely using against American interests in Qatar, as Jennifer noted, are some from their shorter range arsenal. Cruise missiles or possibly medium-range ballistic missiles, but not the same missiles that they were using over the past 11 days to target major Israeli population centers. A Qatari source just sending me another statement that I do want to just read here live from a spokesman for Qatar's foreign minister saying, "We reaffirm that dialogue is the only way to overcome the current crisis and ensure the security in the region and the peace of its people remains." And so the Qataris still, amid all of this, encouraging diplomacy and dialogue in the region. They have been one of the leaders in the Middle East over the past more than 600 days, trying to de-escalate regional tension, bring all parties to the table, and ultimately find some sort of off-ramp, ceasefire agreements, or at least temporary understandings. But as this war develops between Israel and Iran, there is concern that this could spiral and continue, because we heard from President Trump directly, we heard from Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, that any attack on American interests in the region would be met with a response. And everyone from American officials to current and former Israeli officials warned Iran against such an attack taking place. Now, while this is limited in nature, it certainly does bring this entire conflict into a new chapter and raises questions about how the Americans might respond.
Real quick, to the religious zealots in chat, do you believe that your God is all-powerful and incapable of doing wrong? Do you believe that your God is all-powerful and incapable of doing wrong?
Base just outside of Doha. It's about a 30-minute drive from the U.S. Embassy in the Qatari capital. And it's a place where there's a lot of coordination for U.S. Central Command. You might remember back in 2021 when those evacuation flights were taking place. Many of them were landing from Kabul, Afghanistan to Doha, Qatar at this airbase. And so it's a base that was built in the late 90s. It cost around $1 billion to build. And it is still owned by the Qataris, but it is, again, the largest American base in the region, and there is close coordination for U.S. Central Command done out of this base. It was largely evacuated before this took place, and again, according to a spokesman for Qatar's foreign ministry, no one was injured in this missile strike launched by Iran. But again, this shows that the Iranians are willing to respond directly to American interests in the region. And even before the war between Israel and Iran erupted 11 days ago, with this Israeli strike starting against the top IRGC officials, Iranian nuclear scientists, and of course Iran's nuclear program, the United States was preparing for this possibility. You might remember about 2 weeks ago, President Trump ordered a partial evacuation.
Then why does God give blood cancer to newborns?
Evacuation for the dependence of U.S. Embassy personnel.
Cue him saying God works in mysterious ways.
Children in places like Bahrain and Kuwait. The United States understood that as a war would develop between Israel and Iran, that U.S. interests in the region could come under attack. And of course, with those U.S. strikes against the Iranian nuclear facilities, those 3 facilities over the weekend, the officials here have been bracing for such a response. Israeli officials, though, remain on high alert, understanding that this is certainly not the end of Iranian response as it relates to Israel. But as for American forces in the region, again, the latest information that we can...
How does a newborn get cancer, then? What?
It took place just earlier this hour, and there is initial reporting coming in right now from the New York Times indicating that Iran coordinated the attacks with the American air base in Qatar, and Qatari officials gave advance notice that the attacks were coming to minimize the casualties. Again, that information attributable to the New York Times, but this is not surprising because they did a very similar coordination back in 2020 in response to the killing of Qasem Soleimani, that drone strike.
then why are there newborns with blood cancer even though their parents don't have blood cancer and their grandparents don't have blood cancer?
That the Iranians wanted to coordinate their response as to not drag more officials and militaries in the region into the current war that is escalating between Israel and Iran. Guys?
You know, as you're on the air, Trey, and you probably can't see it, we're getting some pretty spectacular footage of the missile intercepts there. We don't know if it was all just American Patriot missiles or if there were other anti-missile devices that were set up into the sky as well, but it's looking very much like Israel did over the last couple of weeks. Apparently, the Iranians have given this a name.
If your God is all powerful and he can do no wrong, why did he create Adolf Hitler?
Other response at the Al-Assad air base, and somewhere up to 17 missiles fell on the Al-Assad air base. The fact that this was very limited, Iran says we matched the number of missiles to the number of bombs that were dropped on Iran. We had a number of 6 given to us by the Israelis, which would be far below the number
of gaming nerds
bombs that were dropped on Iran. I mean, does this suggest that this is merely a symbolic response so that the Iranian regime can say we punched America in the nose, whereas really, I mean, they didn't even ruffle a hair on our forehead?
Trump said he's not retaliating against us?
Yeah, absolutely.
Bullshit.
And they
Where
do this often to try and contain possible escalation in the region. We were on the ground in Baghdad, Iraq, when that other ballistic missile attack took place back in 2020. And there was an understanding that American interests could be moved. There was a warning to U.S. troops to prepare to get into shelters. There were a lot of minor injuries for forces then from the blast of those missiles back in 2020. But this coordination does take place to try and
anything? Yes, I am positive that Donald Trump is a fascist and a threat to American democracy.
Iran still, despite the fact that Israel and the United States have gone after Iranian interests within their own country, and the Israelis have gone after these ballistic missile launching positions and other IRGC capabilities, weapons storage facilities, for example, the Iranians still have the ability to operate from other countries. They can, through their proxies, these Iran-backed Iraqi and Syrian Shia militias, launch limited attacks with missiles and rockets toward American interests in the region. And there are no reports indicating that that has taken place. And so Iran still has the ability to ratchet up the pressure against
called free
American
will? Oh, so your God isn't all-powerful.
Here, they are trying to coordinate some possible response as to not drag the United States more directly into the fight. There's an understanding that the Americans have a capacity and they have weapons that the Israelis do not have, and a willingness, if American forces or interests in the region come under attack, to get more directly involved in the fight. And the regime in Tehran has been extremely weakened following the 11-day campaign that the Israelis have launched not only against their nuclear facilities, but also against top IRGC officials. Remember, in that opening wave, the Israelis took out nearly the entire chain of command for the IRGC Air Force commanders in the Iranian capital of Tehran. We've spoken with top Israeli intelligence officials who have described to Fox News how they are systematically hunting down Iranian officials. And this gives you a sense of how their military chain of command has been decimated over the past week and a half. And so they're still able to coordinate this response. There is an understanding that this is a very large country, more than 90 million people in Iran. And so, of course, they knew that if there was going to be a regional war, it would come in waves. And so they have capabilities. They still can target U.S. interests in the region. But again, it appears today that they've tried to limit this with just targeting initially this U.S. base just outside of Doha, Qatar.
Why? They voted for it. If you voted for this, go have fun on the front lines. Luke, did you vote for Donald Trump in 2024, Luke? Luke escalate?
Temporarily amid fears of retaliation by Iran against these U.S. attacks. Also, Rich Edson reporting for us has just informed us that President Trump is not yet in that situation, the situation room for that security meeting.
Yeah, because he's golfing.
So we do anticipate that is still happening, but we haven't gotten yet word that he has entered that meeting. Trey, we'll get back to you very shortly.
Hey, everyone.
Luke says, no, I am a veteran, however. So I firmly believe that every single person who voted for Donald Trump should be forced to go fight. I didn't vote for Donald Trump. I shouldn't have to fight his wars. Do you agree or disagree?
I do want to go back to Chief Foreign Correspondent Richard Engel, who is live for us in Tel Aviv. Richard, I know you have new reporting out of Qatar,
Yeah, let's
but
poll
also
it. Let's do a new poll. Let's start a new poll. End poll. New poll. Start poll. Should all MAGA voters be drafted to the front lines? There we go. There's our poll, chat.
after that, update our viewers about what's happening in Israel right now and if anything has happened there tonight.
So the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Qatar just put out a statement calling for an immediate cessation of hostilities by all parties and a return to the negotiating table. So they would like to see this over. They want all parties to stop and to resume a diplomatic process. But you asked about Israel. Israel just overnight has begun to change what it is targeting in Iran. There was an Israeli strike confirmed by the Ministry of Defense here that Israel struck the Evin prison in Tehran. Israel's attacking what it describes as tools of Iranian repression. They also targeted the Basij offices and headquarters. Now, the Basij are a military force that the Iranian government, the Iranian theocracy, has used for domestic repression. So when you take them together, they also attacked a police headquarters. They are taking away the Iranian abilities. This seems to be a relatively limited response by Iran. It seems to be a response that Iran would have known.
What was fragging in the Vietnam War? The term fragging is used when soldiers turn against their commanding officer and kill him with a grenade. The reason why they select a grenade for the assassination is because when the grenade explodes, the evidence is destroyed, leaving zero traces. Motives for this is when an officer is being abusive and hated by his men, and his men had enough of his leadership. Fragging happens in the middle of combat, where a soldier will purposely throw a grenade at his officer to make it appear like an accident. Or when the officer is asleep, a soldier will throw a grenade at his bed, killing him. What was fragging in the Vietnam
War? That's very
War?
informational. I'm just watching
the
this
term
for
fragging is used when soldiers turn.
Just historical studying about the Vietnam War, which my father served in. So I have all the right in the world to do research on things that happened in the Vietnam War. It's just historical research. It is just historical research. It is just historical research.
All right, welcome back. Want to reset, talk about where we are now and where we might be going next when it comes to Operation Midnight Hammer and the situation in Iran. So taking a look once again to recap what we did over the weekend. The U.S. attacking 3 separate Iranian nuclear sites. Isfahan, where they got a bunch of underground tunnels with enriched uranium. Natanz, and then the big one at Fordo. That is where we used 12 different bunker busters, waiting for damage assessments from those. But the question is, what, if any, responses are going to be from the Iranians next? Keep in mind, we've got about 40,000 U.S. military personnel sprinkled throughout bases all within the Middle East, going from Turkey all the way down
He was a Nam. Do you know what his political views were? Yeah, my dad fucking hated the government. He said that the government constantly lies. All they want to do is create more wars so that they have a never-ending flow of cash into the military-industrial complex.
Qatar and the UAE. Remember, back in 2020, it was Al Assad Air Base in Iraq, where the Iranians decided to shoot ballistic missiles in response to the strike against Soleimani. Then down here in Qatar, we've got Al Udeid Air Base. That is our biggest base in all of the Middle East. That's where CENTCOM also has some of their headquarters. The question also, what's going to happen here on U.S. soil? The potential threat of Iranian sleeper cells. We talked about the open border the last 4 years. Take a look at this data. CBP sources telling Fox News from 2021 to 2024 under...
Dude, they're literally like, this Iranian sleeper cell false flag attack is guaranteed. The CIA and Mossad is going to actually cause a terror attack, and they're going to blame it on Iranian sleepers. Holy fuck.
The Biden administration, just over 1,500 Iranians were caught by Border Patrol crossing the southern border illegally. Of that, almost half of them, 729, were released into the U.S. That is 48%. That also does not account for the more than 2 million known gotaways who slipped across the southern border during that time. For more on this...
Can you explain how this war will make billionaire weapons? Every single time a bullet is fired or a missile is launched, a billionaire laughs. Who do you think is in control of Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman? These are billionaires who profit off of the blood of the innocent.
Potential threats to the homeland. I want to send it out to Mark Meredith, joining us live in D.C. this morning. Mark, good morning to you.
Bill, good morning to you. The FBI says it remains vigilant, and the Department of Homeland Security is warning there is a heightened threat given the developments in Iran. We're watching two potential types of attack here. The possibility,
do you have stocks?
One, cyber
yes.
threats to U.S. networks. The other, the possibility of sleeper cells targeting Americans here at home. Major cities, including New York, where you are, D.C. and Los Angeles, stepping up patrols near places of worship. NYPD also watching diplomatic sites around the country, around the city. And over the weekend, DHS put out a bulletin acknowledging the threat is real. DHS writing, multiple recent homeland terrorist attacks have been motivated by anti-Semitic or anti-Israel sentiment, and the ongoing Israel-Iran conflict could contribute to U.S.-based individuals plotting additional attacks. Some lawmakers fear the sharp influx of migrants.
They aren't seriously talking about sleeper cells, are they? Yes, they're planning a false flag event. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. CIA and Mossad are going to commit an act of terrorism on U.S. soil, and they're going to blame it on Iranian sleeper cells. Also, guys, if you're thinking like, oh, the government would never do that, we already tried. It's part of the reason why they assassinated JFK. Operation Northwoods was a proposed false flag operation that originated within the Department of Defense in the United States government in 1962. The proposal called for the CIA operatives to both stage and commit acts of terrorism against the American military and civilian targets, blame them on the Cuban government, and use them to justify a war with Cuba. The possibilities detailed in the document included the remote control of civilian aircraft which could secretly be repainted as U.S. Air Force planes, a fabricated shoot-down of a U.S. Air Force fighter, the possible assassination of Cuban immigrants, sinking boats of Cuban refugees, blowing up a U.S. ship, and orchestrating terrorism within the U.S. cities. The proposals were rejected by President John F. Kennedy. So remember, kids, when somebody says the government would never do that, oh, yes, they would.
The U.S. over the last few years may have allowed Iran to send sleeper cells into the U.S. undetected. And as Bill mentioned, Fox learning many Iranian nationals detected crossing into the U.S. during the Biden administration were allowed to stay.
Is it safe to say if war breaks out, you should sell your stocks to not profit from it?
Fortunately,
no. If war breaks out, you should profit from it. These fucking warmongers and billionaires are going to be eating pie regardless. You divesting is not going to prevent war. All it's going to do is give more money to these fucking billionaires. The way that I look at it is if they're having pie, I'm having pie. But I'm going to use every last fucking dollar that I make off of this to dismantle the very system I'm in.
Jihad organization to embed sleeper cells. And Bill, the threat extends beyond the obvious U.S. domestic targets. Military installations abroad, American diplomatic outposts all remain on high alert. Bill.
Yep, the issues at the border continue to echo with the situation right now. Mark Meredith, thank you. Good to see you.
Want to bring in Fran Townsend, former DHS advisor under President Bush. It's great to have you here. One of the things they did not mention is something that Iran is known to have some capabilities, but you could describe them, and that is the cyber capabilities. Could that hurt us here as well?
Sure. I mean, look, they've attacked U.S. critical infrastructure. They've attacked the financial institutions. J.P. Morgan suffered real damage. And so I think the private sector, too, has got to be on alert for retaliatory effects. I agree. We've got there's the potential for these sleeper cells that could be activated. But the FBI has the Joint
Wouldn't you be classified as a
Task
warmonger,
Forces,
too? No, because I don't want war. I don't advocate for war.
so that they're all working the problem together. This is not a new concern, and so I imagine long before the bombing they were working to uncover sleeper cells. I do think the people the most at risk for a physical attack are our bases overseas and diplomatic institutions.
And when it comes to those concerns about potential sleeper cells, when I was down at the border, I met a lot of Iranians, and most of them seemed like pretty nice guys. They'd come up to the cameras and they spoke English. They said they wanted to flee the regime. I think a lot of the concern has to do with the gotaways, right? More than 2 million over the last 4 years. Those are people we never saw on our cameras. Those are people Border Patrol never caught. Those are people who paid the coyotes extra to get away from law enforcement.
That's right.
What are your concerns about that population?
So that's exactly the focus of the Joint Terrorism Task Forces, because you've got state and locals there who are closer to the communities, who have sources in the communities and can feed into the federal system that can bring resources to bear. And so I take some comfort in the fact, the other thing the FBI brings with them is access to surveillance capability.
Not Wendigoon in my Valenti Live?
What are you talking about? Intelligence Surveillance Act. This is really what it was intended for, and to gather intelligence to identify those cells.
Take us to the region. You know it very well. One of the things here is that Israel had degraded the capabilities of Hezbollah.
Another forever war in the Middle East is starting over the lies of a WMD, also that the oil lobby can profit and our military-industrial complex can test out their new favorite toys in their favorite fucking sandbox. And a new generation of young Americans is going to go fight and die for fucking Israel.
Close to Iran, they don't want to have short-term or medium-term ballistic missiles falling on them. But they support quietly, to your point, Dana, the action that the president has taken. It protects not just Israel and us, but the entire region and the world.
Federal reports simulate
Judgment
July
Crockett in the headlines once again with
2025
another comment she
bioterror.
made. We'll play it. Want to get your thoughts on the other side.
Sure.
I know they may claim we law and order, blah, blah, blah. So go get the undocumented people.
Bro, watch me pop up on this. Watch me pop up on this shit.
That are putting us in harm's way. It is him and his administration that is putting us in harm's way.
You want to go ahead and give us your thoughts on that?
It's sort of so ridiculous, right? I mean, she doesn't know that whether the undocumented, the ones who got away, are a threat or not, and that's the very point. Of course, the president has devoted resources at the FBI and DHS.
This bitch looks like a velociraptor. I don't know why, but this bitch looks like a fucking velociraptor. Clever girl.
Just to determine whether or not those people are a threat to us here in the United States.
Hold on. Yeah, bro. Bro, she looks exactly like a fucking velociraptor. That's uncanny.
Fran Townsend, it's so good to see you. Good to see you. And we have a lot of history, and so it's good to sort of close it out, right? On Saturday night, I was like, oh, wait,
this shit is going to create so much Islamophobia across our nation. Yeah, it actually goes further than that. Yes, Islamophobia is going to be on the rise, but here's the real cherry on top. What Netanyahu wants is an increase in anti-Semitism, and it's already beginning. Every American soldier that dies in this conflict, people will blame it on the Jews. Not rightfully, it should be blamed on Israel, right? But across the world, people conflate Israel and Judaism. This is because Benjamin Netanyahu says that every action Israel takes is an action made by the Jewish people. He says that Israel represents all Jewish people worldwide, right? So American soldiers die in this conflict. American citizens and other people blame the Jews for starting this conflict. Rise in anti-Semitism. A rise in anti-Semitism validates Benjamin Netanyahu. He says, as you can see, there's a rise in anti-Semitism worldwide. This reinforces the reason why we need a Jewish ethno-state. This is why we need to defend ourselves. Constantly, the Jewish people are being pogromed. And it provides Netanyahu with a never-ending war, which will allow him to stay as the dictator of Israel, but B, it solidifies his claims of the necessity for Israel. That is the whole point. This is the whole fucking point.
No, I know this story. I want to get on air, so it was good, and our coverage has been great, and you enhance it. Thank you. We appreciate you.
Nice to see you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
Ralph, you talking about goth egg? I bet you are, you sick fuck.
Qatari capital, Doha. Let's bring in our Cordelia Lynch, who joins me from Tel Aviv. And Cordelia, there was shock, wasn't there? Even though we were hearing these reports, but initially, in the last 24 hours, the focus really was on bases in Iraq and Syria, and the idea that there would be an attempt to hit a base.
False flag on July 4th? Yeah, probably before that, to be honest.
Fetched, but it's all starting to make sense given Qatar's relationship with both states.
Yes, I think so. Qatar very much has emerged as a sort of neutral intermediary in recent years. You've seen it play a role, of course, in negotiations. It's been host to Hamas. You've seen with the Taliban.
Do you think nukes would be used in this war?
Conflict.
I think that it is incredibly likely.
In terms of the symbolism and the size of this
Also, I want you guys to
base,
understand, all the nukes will be labeled tactical. Every nuclear weapon that is ever launched will be labeled as a tactical nuke. Doesn't matter how powerful it is. Doesn't matter that it isn't, that there's no such thing as a tactical nuke. They will always label it as a tactical nuke.
Sets too. So what it provides Iran with is a sort of symbolic.
Why do they call it tactical? To fuck with your head.
Site, without one that's left any civilian casualties behind. So not an attack that will necessarily
I don't think you're going to get no draft letter, Fabian.
An American response. Of course, it is a big gamble by Iran. This is a febrile, mercurial period. We don't know what might come next. But I think there's interesting choreography that appears to have taken place. Iran, it suggested, notified both the Qataris and America too through various diplomatic back channels. So there was a heads up, if you like. There was an anticipation, and we knew from Iran that they had signaled that they were going to potentially strike US bases, and they have done exactly that. The big question is what happens next. Will Donald Trump choose to respond? Now, conventional...
Of course he will. Of course he will. Let's see if he said anything on Trump Truth yet. Nothing yet. Nothing yet.
Wisdom was part of that critical effort in dismantling Iran's nuclear program, and he doesn't want to get involved in the sort of messy entanglement of another nation's war. It is really Israel's war to fight, and we have not heard from Benjamin Netanyahu yet. We understand that the Security Cabinet will be meeting shortly. That, it appears, is a scheduled meeting, not one in response to this particular attack. But it will be interesting to see what the Prime Minister has to say in response to this, because there certainly has been a lot of signaling from the Israeli government that they are prepared for a prolonged conflict. They continue to strike, and Iran has continued to strike Israel. It is possible that that tit for tat continues. It is also, of course, plausible that they might meets some kind of temporary ceasefire, that every party feels that this moment is an opportunity to save face, to walk away, to take the diplomatic off-ramp. But there's a lot of, possibilities there, and absolutely no certainty, and a great deal of jeopardy.
Indeed, very much so. I just want to bring in a couple more lines that have come into us. One of those from the Reuters news agency. They say Iran will continue its retaliation in response to U.S. attacks. That's based on what a senior Iranian official has told Reuters. And the senior Iranian official also
Mom,
went
I need
on
my
to
cat
say
costume.
Iran has the necessary rationality to begin diplomacy after punishing the aggressor. If they seek negotiations, Israeli and U.S. attacks.
Don't look at what's in front of you. Boats, 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 moving up and down again. Men go mad with what they're witnessing. There's no discharge in the war.
Bro, if you're not following me on Instagram and TikTok, you are making a huge mistake. You are making a huge mistake, okay? Oh, God.
Missiles too, but certainly what we've seen play out on the ground here is day.
On Monday, George W. Bush will campaign in South Carolina for his brother. As you said tonight, and you've often said, the Iraq War and your opposition to it was a sign of your good judgment. In 2008, in an interview with Wolf Blitzer talking about President George W. Bush's conduct of the war, you said you were surprised that Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi didn't try to impeach him. You said, quote, which personally I think would have been a wonderful thing, close quote. When you were asked what you meant by that, you said, for the war. For the war. He lied. He got us into the war with lies. Do you still believe President Bush should be should have been
First
impeached?
of all, I have to say, as a businessman, I get along with everybody. I have business all over the world.
Everybody?
I know so many of the people in the audience. And by the way, I'm a self-funder. I have my wife and I have my son. That's all I have. I don't
Lie.
have. So let me just tell you, I get along with everybody, which is my obligation to my company, to myself, etc. Obviously, the war in Iraq was a big, fat mistake, all right? Now, you can take it any way you want, and it took
Can we point out the difference in old Trump and new Trump physically? Brother, Donald Trump is nothing like this anymore. It is a new, dying, decrepit, old, withering man. Like, he's nothing like this anymore. This, dude, the presidency has drained him.
Jeb Bush, if you remember at the beginning of his announcement, when he announced for president, took him 5 days. He went back. It was a mistake. It wasn't a mistake. Took him 5 days before his people told him what to say. And he ultimately said it was a mistake. The war in Iraq, we spent $2 trillion, thousands of lives. We don't even have it. Iran is taking over Iraq with the second largest oil reserves in the world. Obviously, it was a mistake. So George Bush made a mistake. We can make mistakes, but that one was a beauty. We should have never been in Iraq. We have destabilized the Middle East.
But
Meanwhile, this motherfucker is sending us in. Isn't it, dude? If you could get Trump to debate Trump, it would be fucking crazy. I want Trump debating Trump, bro.
Capitalize on. So strategically,
Thank you for the $2.
everyone
I gotta
seems to
take a
be getting
piss.
behind Benjamin
I'll be right
Netanyahu.
back.
Then, of course,
I'm gonna take a
the
piss
United
and a
States
bong rip. I'll be back
launched
in
that
like
attack
a minute or two.
And was brought into this conflict in the last 24 hours with those 3 nuclear sites being hit. There was a lot of concern about how A, Iran would respond, and B, whether their program had actually been degraded and destroyed. Now, there are many analysts who are saying that actually this will now compel Iran to make that dash for the bomb, to weaponize their nuclear program. And we're now hearing that the Parliament Committee has approved the general plan to suspend cooperation with the IAEA.
Yes, and that is, of course, one of the sort of central concerns, is that you might be able to dismantle a program on the surface, but can you, kind of eviscerate the mindset, the ambitions of building something greater in the future? And of course, this is a weakened, but it's also a wounded Iran that feels great indignation at Israel's strikes. The next few months, the years that it might take to develop its nuclear program could well continue. Yes, Israel has dealt an absolutely massive blow. There's been a huge damage to so much of its infrastructure there, but that doesn't prevent it from developing more in the future. We've also had a lot of discussion over the last few days about where the enriched uranium was taken to. There was 60%. Of course, it's the critical 90% that you need to create a nuclear bomb, and most experts estimate they weren't far from that. There's no confirmation yet about the location of that. And so no matter what sort of grandstanding there is, you remember Donald Trump talking about completely destroying Fordo. The language shifted yesterday from the Israelis, who talked more about a bad hit to Fordo. So not the kind of extreme obliteration that Donald Trump spoke of. So there's still a lot more work to do. Will Israel be willing to step back from the brink here? Will they be satisfied that they've been able to make a hugely significant dent to Iran's nuclear program? Will America too feel that they've been a party to it, and so they're able to claim a sort of dual symbolic victory and step away, prevent a kind of protracted war? Certainly we know Donald Trump doesn't want a messy entanglement. He told his base that that was not what he was about. It's what they've come to expect. With Benjamin Netanyahu, it's less certain. This has been an obsession of his for 30 years. He's always spoken of Iran as an existential threat. Will he step back at this critical moment? It is possible. Perhaps he'll look for a swift conclusion. That certainly would play well domestically from those voters, even his critics, who have felt very good about the way he's managed this. It is possible, but that doesn't mean it's the end of the story. Very, very far from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Cordy, thank you so much. We'll be talking to you again a little later in the program and throughout the evening. I just want to bring you up to date because we were reporting that Iran's Tasnim news agency said the Parliament Committee had approved the general plan to suspend cooperation with the IAEA. We've just received some more information now from Reuters, and they said the National Security Committee of Iran's parliament approved the general outline of a bill meant to fully suspend Tehran's cooperation with the UN nuclear watchdog. That's according to the semi-official Tasnim news agency.
You guys liked that
and they
Boots
have
video,
cited
didn't you?
the committee spokesperson Ibrahim Rezai. Rezai said that according to the bill, installing surveillance cameras, allowing inspections and submitting reports to the IAEA would be suspended as long as the security of nuclear facilities is not guaranteed. The Parliament still has to approve the bill in a plenary. Let's go straight to Mark Stone. And Mark, the whole idea of these operations over the
father of
past
3
week
Marines
and
that
a
was
half
kidnapped by
and the
ICE.
last
He wasn't just kidnapped by ICE. They beat the fuck out of him. You want to see the video of ICE agents beating the fuck out of him? It's insane. Luigi, it's just the guy in the hallway with the vacuum. It's okay. Jesus. It's just a guy with the vacuum. It's okay. Luigi, it's okay. Where is the ICE agent beating the fucking piss off of him? Oh, here it is. This guy back there, the one getting the shit kicked out of him, he's the father of 3 U.S. Marines. He's a U.S. citizen. Any MAGA voters here in the chat? Is there any MAGA voters here in the chat? Be brave. Just admit it. Any MAGA voters here in the chat? Be brave.
¿Por qué le pegas?
That's a major payday? No, it isn't. Donald Trump said, officially, the President of the United States said that ICE can use any means necessary to continue the mass deportation operation. Any means necessary. They got orders from the President of the United States. Can they shoot people? Yup. Yup. He said, by any means necessary. They have to deport 3,000 people every day, come hell or high water. And let's be real for a second. You think somebody who looks like this, real talk, he's wearing blue jeans, he's wearing what? Nikes, his phone's in his back pocket, he's morbidly obese, his plate carrier barely covers him, he's got a backwards hat. Be honest with yourself. Do you think that is a federal agent? It's not. That is a member of the Proud Boys. That is a white supremacist. That is a Ku Klux Klan member. That is a Nazi. That is your local sheriff. These are volunteers. They are not trained for this. They do this for the love of the game. In 2016, Trump was also terrible, but he didn't have vengeance on his mind. He wasn't the same man as 2024 Trump. He has vengeance on his mind now. There's another video I really wanted to show you. If I can find it. Here it is. Here's how you respond. This is the local fire department fucking pushing back ICE with their fire trucks. This is why we don't shit on the fire department. This is why nobody ever shits on the fire department. Look at them fucking flee. Look at them flee. Get him, boys. Get him, boys. That gives me chills, bro. That gives me fucking chills.
Oh my God. They made all this commotion.
That is so fucking cool.
The pride of being able to be here and do work that facilitates making things better for people. And in the greatest country on earth, next to Israel.
You see that? That's the State Department spokesperson. Let's play that again.
And in the greatest country on earth, next to Israel.
Look at her face. Again.
It's making things better for people. And in the greatest country on earth, next to Israel. It is
unfucking believable, bro. Let's see. Tammy Bruce is her name. Tammy Bruce.
We have big news right now. U.S. officials are now telling the New York Times that Donald Trump does not plan to retaliate against Iran after.
So listen, this is what Trump thinks is really smart military tactics. So Trump trying to deport back to hell, even Satan is tired of his book. All right, so listen to this. Trump is going to publicly say, we're not going to strike back against Iran. And then he's going to strike back against Iran. Why do I think this? Because Trump said that you have 2 weeks to negotiate, and then he publicized that we were moving our B-2s to Guam, which would mean that they're not ready to go. And then what did he do? Bombed Iran. I think that Trump thinks it's clever to say, I'm not going to hit you. Why do you think they moved their stockpile, bro? Because they have intel, dog. You're not clever.
After Iran struck or tried to strike multiple U.S. military bases in the Middle East, they are calling Iran's strikes, quote, largely theatrical. And the reason why is because we now have confirmation that Iran actually reached out to both the Qataris and the Americans ahead of the strikes in an effort to minimize civilian casualties. The strikes did not cause any casualties, and it looked as though it was just a response just to respond, because Iran had to respond to the United States after the United States bombed multiple nuclear facilities. Now, Donald Trump's final decision is not yet made. He is in the Situation Room right now speaking with National Security Council officials, so we'll see what he decides, but at least according to
I know, Zuko. I know. You guys have been saying that Iran has been 2 weeks from getting a nuclear weapon since the year 1979. I know what propaganda looks like. I'm just not stupid enough to fall for it.
Reporting right now, Donald Trump does not want more war in Iran. We'll see if that's true or not. I'll provide you more updates every step of the way, so follow along for more. We have breaking news right now. Iran notified the United States, along with Qatar, via diplomatic channels hours before today's strikes on U.S. military bases in Qatar and Iraq. According to Reuters, we have breaking news right now. According to
July 21st, 2023, IAEA reported that they found uranium particles enriched to 83.7% purity in Iran's Fordo nuclear facility. Let's see. IAEA, Iranian uranium enrichment. The International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, is concerned about Iran's uranium enrichment activities, particularly its stockpile of uranium enriched to 60% purity, which is a short technical step from weapons-grade material. The IAEA reports that Iran has been rapidly increasing its production of 60% enriched uranium, with the agency expressing serious concern, as Iran is the only non-nuclear weapon state producing such material, according to the AP News. Is that what you wanted me to look up? You literally won't acknowledge the IAEA? I'm acknowledging it right now. I don't believe them. I believe that's American propaganda and Israeli propaganda. I've been hearing since fucking 1979 that Iran is 2 weeks from getting a nuclear weapon. I want conclusive proof. I want conclusive evidence. Yeah, it's for their air conditioning. Oh, we already read this.
On X. I don't know if we can get it up at the moment, but if not, let me just read it to you. We didn't aggress anyone, he says, and we will not accept any aggression from anyone under any circumstances. So that is a statement that's just come out in a post on X, formerly known as Twitter. Iran's Ayatollah Ali Khamenei saying we didn't aggress anyone and we will not accept any aggression from anyone under any circumstances. We heard from Iran's officials in the last hour or so saying that if Israel and the United States want to negotiate, the attacks that they are currently facing need to stop. And Israel has also indicated that they will soon be able to end this tit-for-tat attack that we're seeing just this morning.
Yeah, Iran is so close to lining up and firing all of the Halo rings, bro. Iran is so close to completing the Great Journey, bro.
Missiles flying over the skies of Jerusalem. The air defenses swung into action, but every single day, early hours of the morning, people are rushing into bunkers and taking shelter from those missiles and strikes. And we've seen the death toll in Iran over the course of the last week or so. It's reached over 700.
Dude, Iran is 2 weeks from getting all of the Infinity Stones. Do you know how fucked we are?
now, civilians and thousands of others have left cities like Tehran and Mashhad because they're so concerned about the ongoing strikes, although Israel says that they have been issuing warnings to civilians on their phones, making phone calls, automated phone calls, telling people to evacuate their buildings if they're close to military installations. They've also issued another warning today to say to people that do not go close to any kind of military facility or military installation because they do come under attack. But we have seen this response from Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who put that post up on X, and I've just received the full post now. He says, "We have not violated anyone's rights, nor will we ever accept anyone."
That Iran is 2 days away from firing the Halo ring. We've got breaking news. I don't even know if I can do that, bro. Can I do that? What is it called? Is it called the Spirit of Fire? What is Master Chief's ship called? Is it called the Spirit of Fire? The one in the beginning. And in the beginning, it's called the Spirit of Fire. Okay. Do not post that, bro. The Pillar of Autumn. It's called the Pillar of Autumn. My bad. Breaking news, folks. New reporting coming from Captain Keyes in the Pillar of Autumn that the Iranians are 2 days away from firing the Halo rings. Breaking news, folks. New reporting coming from Captain Keyes in the Pillar of Autumn that the Iranians are 2 days away from firing the Halo rings. Dude, can I even do that? Am I gonna get fucking arrested for spreading misinformation? Should I put like /S or something? It's satire. Somebody get Master Chief. I'm gonna say somebody get Master Chief immediately. There we go. Okay. And I'm gonna put /S. /S just to make you laugh. Don't tweak. All right. Oh God, dude, I'm gonna get like arrested.
But once they've achieved them, then they will move on to a new phase, and perhaps if Iran stops attacking them, that it calms down. Obviously, one of those was to
and then if people tweak out, I'll make another one.
The strike that we saw in that incredible operation. Point is, are we reaching the point that we go to the next phase where things calm down? Certainly, is perhaps going to allow this one to pass. And as you say, the Supreme Leader is now saying that they didn't actually hurt anyone and they just won't be attacked themselves, but that is the position they intend to take. So we'll have to see whether they stick to that. I suppose really the crucial thing is going to be what happens between Israel and Iran in the coming days. But the whole of this region remains very much on high alert, of course, because there's nothing to indicate that this is all over yet at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Stuart, thank you so much. We will be coming back to you.
Security camera.
Let's speak now to Nicholas Hopton, UK ambassador to Iran from 2016 to 2018, who joins me live now. Ambassador, thank you very much for joining us. Quite an escalation, although it does, based on the sources I've been speaking to, this was coordinated. It is a staged attack, very similar to the aftermath of the killing of the Iranian commander Qasem Soleimani, where Iran felt compelled to do something, and perhaps this might settle the account between the United States and Iran.
Well, I think it's quite clear from what we've seen in the last hours that Iran is signaling that it is ready to de-escalate. And that's not just in the way that the attack on Al-Udeid was conducted, with no loss of life and clear signs that there was a bit of choreography going on. And I think one must, if that is the case, one must give credit to
Ain't that cute?
This situation to de-escalate, because every single day Israel is launching strikes on different military facilities in Iran, and of course in response Iran is launching ballistic missiles in the early hours of the morning, in the late afternoon, in the late evening on Israel.
Yes, and I would expect that to continue unabated until there is a different approach taken by the White House, essentially.
Are you saying every
I think
country...
if the last couple of days has been about waiting...
Are you saying every country a part of the JCPOA is wrong? They all acknowledge Iran has enriched uranium over the 3.67 agreement. It feels like you're pick and choosing your facts. No, bro, I don't believe that any nation on Earth is allowed to have nuclear weapons. And I do not understand why bombing Iran is the solution to this problem when we have so many nuclear-powered nations that already need to denuclearize. If anybody is picking and choosing, it is you who have no problem with the United States and Israel and all of these nuclear nations, but we have to bomb Iran to prevent them from building a nuke that we have no evidence that they've created, that we've been claiming they have been creating since 1979. You're never going to get me to support bombing Iran. I'm not trying to convince you of doing that. Then what is your problem with me? What is your problem with my take?
I think anyone should feel particularly complacent at this point. There are a lot of different interests in play, and although it does seem that maybe the US president has prepared a situation where he can declare victory and is obviously very firmly on the line that he has destroyed Iran's nuclear capability through
Thank you,
the
Barrett, for
attacks
becoming
on
a loyalist.
Fordo and other nuclear sites. I think, as you and your correspondents have pointed out, the IAEA and others in the US system have made clear that it's going to take some time before we're clear about whether Iran's nuclear capability is indeed completely destroyed, and with some suggestion from the IAEA themselves that a significant amount of enriched uranium at 60% level or above is unaccounted for. There suggests, I would have thought, that there is a negotiation to be had, because perhaps Iran still does retain some capability in the nuclear side, which would need negotiating away.
Ambassador, I just want to get your perspective on the Iranian mindset right now, because, of course, you were ambassador from 2016 to
Mr. Cardboard
2018. The Iranian...
I'm not saying he's a good president. He's literally the opposite, but the war would have started either way. Do you think that if in a different dimension we're in the exact same position but Kamala Harris is president, do you think I wouldn't be doing the exact same thing I'm doing right now, but calling her the fucking dumbass? Do you think that I would just support this war if do you think I blindly support whatever the Democrat Party's candidate says? I don't give a fuck. I fucking hate Kamala Harris, bro. She was a dog shit candidate. We didn't even get to have a primary. It doesn't give a fuck who's in charge. It is their fault.
The US withdrew from the nuclear deal of 2015. Donald Trump withdrew when he was president the first time around in 2018. And of course, that led to significant non-compliance with the IAEA, a stop to inspections and verification, which had been put in place during the time when the nuclear deal was actually applying in 2016 and 17. I think it's a bit by the playbook, this new decision in Tehran to stop complying with the IAEA. they haven't been particularly.
Yeah, guys, friendly
good.
reminder, by the way, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. It costs you absolutely nothing, and it helps me immensely. If you do want to help the channel financially, you could become a patron, you could become a member, you could just throw a couple bucks my way, you could buy merch, and you can use the 40% off discount code on the Ground News Vantage subscription. This is what real independent media looks like. It looks like a dumbass on a Logitech camera with a Shure microphone and a cat and a dog by his feet, and the cat keeps on attacking his left foot. So I don't have funding. I've never had a conversation with an advertiser or a billionaire or a government. So, you know, if you want to support the channel, it really goes a long way. Thank you very much for 72,000 subs. We're on the road to 100K. Once we get there, that means we are legion. 100,000, that's legion shit,
This was performative, telegraphed, choreographed. Nobody was injured. I don't think Trump.
Who do you think the best president ever?
Escalating, I think.
Honestly, I know it's going to sound cheesy, but probably George Washington, considering he actually fought. He was actually the commander-in-chief. Then he was the president, and then he decided to step down so that he wasn't the president for too long after, what was it, his third term or some shit?
Coordinated, as we've been reporting through the Qataris, who are known to be mediators right across the globe, and so they have good relations with both sides. And
he owned slaves.
From what we understand, it was.
Well, yeah, dude. Fucking not everybody owned slaves back then, but every rich white European man owned slaves back then. Every single president of the United States is also a war criminal. So, you kind of have to pick and choose when you ask this question. For literally every single president in American history has been a war criminal. So we can't we're not saying they're good men, we're saying they're good presidents.
And there's still some 400 kilograms of highly enriched uranium unaccounted for. Whether the Iranians now would be willing to return to the negotiating table.
FDR is also, I think FDR is the second best president. I go George Washington, FDR, Abraham Lincoln.
JCPOA. That's the million-dollar question. I think the Israelis would be willing to stop at this point if the Iranians were willing to agree to what the president had been looking for the past 2 months and getting no satisfaction.
Washington only served 2 terms, yes, and he stepped down before he had a third.
Concerned in any way that this could turn into
a
sort of war of attrition between Iran and Israel? We've been reporting.
Lincoln wasn't a war criminal? Yes, he was. Yes, he was. Brother, he absolutely was. Every single president in American history has committed war crimes, and Lincoln absolutely was a war criminal, but he was justified.
Israelis are low on interceptors.
Yeah, I think there's a convergence here. Really, the Iranians are depleting their missile storage, and the Israelis are treating it as well from the air. And you are correct. I mean, there is a decreasing amount of not iron domes, the David Sling, the mid-tier, and the Arrow missiles. So. There will be a law of diminishing returns, I think, for both sides. And I think at a certain point, Israel can determine that it has accomplished what it has set out to do in terms of degrading the nuclear capabilities and some of the missile production facilities on the ground. That may be enough, along with resumption of negotiation between the United States and Iran to wind this down.
On the weed.
A red line has been crossed, though. When I speak to Israeli officials, they tell me that they have been amazed by the fact that they have been flying freely over Iranian airspace and conducting all sorts of operations as though it was Israeli airspace.
Alice says, thank you for doing this, Chris. I'm a truck driver.
Non-stop ballistic missiles.
I'm a truck driver. Work my full 14 hours just about every day, so it's very hard for me to keep up with the news and you doing this. Thanks, Alice. Truck drivers, you guys fucking carry this nation on your back.
Starting out, I would say, with what Israel did to October and November of last year, showing a remarkable military capability, intelligence gathering that they brought to bear to defeat very quickly Iran's air defense system doing it, back in April, but once again just now, and Iran too has breached the horizon with these missiles.
Dubai airports are operational again, and they've resumed flights after brief suspension. Flights could be seen, could see some delays or cancellations. So we're seeing the airspace over the United Arab Emirates opening after the last couple of hours when they were closed after concerns around that. And we also understand that the airspace over Bahrain and Kuwait have also reopened. Bahrain has reopened its airspace after brief suspensions. That's according to Bahrain news agency, and reporting from Kuwait state news agency that Kuwait reopens airspace after brief suspension.
My
So
birthday
we
is
were seeing
October 6th.
airspaces across this region being closed. First of all, alarm was set off when the Qataris about 3 or 4 hours ago closed their airspace. Before that, the U.S. Embassy was telling Americans in... and then, of course, the airspace... And then, of course, we saw those ballistic missiles being launched in the direction of the Al Udeid airbase. And my sources have been telling me that this was staged, it was coordinated, all parties were aware to ensure no casualties, no injuries, and that's exactly what has happened. The big question is, does this draw a line in the sand now for all parties, excluding Iran and Israel? And we will get to that point in a moment. But let's bring in Sky Security and Defense.
Oh yeah, this is a large part of this is a distraction for while Israel finishes off the remaining Palestinian population.
To unfold, it is very much staged. We have seen this playbook in the past after the commander of the
But it's a bigger issue this time for all sorts of obvious reasons. And it's quite interesting. I mean, Qatar, as you say, has been closest to the Gulf states to Iran. And this will be quite difficult for Qatar. I noticed that the Qatar Foreign Ministry came out with an immediate condemnation of this attack because it's over their airspace. They had to do that. But it's actually quite difficult for them in a way. I mean, a lot of people in the United States are quite sceptical of the role that Qatar plays. They think they've been playing both sides at once, whereas the Qatar government would say that, look, we are trying to be mediators, we're trying to do our best, and they do some very constructive things. And Abdul Rahman Al Thani, the Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Qatar, I think will find this a certain line that he's got to tread, but he's pretty skillful at doing that. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect is, why did the Iranians go for Al Udeid base, the base just west of Doha? And that ticks a lot of boxes because it's symbolically very important. It's the Americans' biggest base in the region, at least 8,000, sometimes 10,000 personnel there. There's often up to 1,000 British personnel there as well because the Brits use it too. It's home to the 379th CENTCOM, Central Command.
The way
so this is a pretty
purposefully
big American
mispronounced shit
asset.
always makes me laugh. No, it's so fucking funny, dude. I remember in the early 2000s, nobody could pronounce Osama bin Laden correctly, or if they could, they chose not to. I used to hear Osama bin Laden. I used to hear Osama bin Laden. There was Osama bin Laden. That was another one. I mean, it's all on and then Iraq instead of Iraq, Iran instead of Iran. It never fucking stops. It is a purposeful mechanism.
That's one thing, but the symbolic importance of Al Udeid is really pretty big as well. You know, the other things that the Iranians might have gone for, and I'm pretty sure that this is just their first gambit. They'll see what the Americans do, because in the long run they are so upset by this American attack on them. They're upset enough by the Israeli attack, but the idea that the Americans then came in behind it in a way that they regard as completely and utterly unacceptable. They feel absolutely like the victims in this, whatever the rest of us might feel. That puts them on a long-term revenge process. I mean, mean, I think the Iranians will want to
Qatar.
actually
I'm Lebanese.
find amends for this.
Let's see. He's right. In English is Qatar. Emphasis on this Qatar. Okay. While some might pronounce it as Qatar or Qatar, these are less accurate representations.
Qatar.
Can I hear the Arabic pronunciation? You're not going to give it to me the same way that you just gave it to me? That's crazy.
And this is if you imagine saying like a K and then just walking the sound farther and farther and farther back in your throat. So you go back like cough, cough, cough. That's cough. So Qatar.
Qatar. Okay, easy. Qatar. 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 But I'm not going to do that because that's got to be cultural appropriation. It's got to be, right? Qatar. I'll just say Qatar. 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 Dude, I hate when people do that shit when I'm talking normally. I'm like, breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, the Iranians have launched missiles at Qatar. And it seems like the Americans are... like, I hate when people fucking do that, bro.
Attack over the longer term, that they want to get back to where they were before day 61 occurred a couple of 10 days ago now, and in that respect they know that they don't have any good military options, but they are absolutely not going to unconditionally surrender in the way that President Trump said in one of his tweets they had to do. They won't do that. And they will, of course, they will come up with ferocious statements of defiance. It's a big country, 90 million people. And although its economy is suffering, it's still a big economy. They can continue, even in a broken-backed way, for a long time. I mean...
Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute. Iran has qualified for the 2016 to 2026 FIFA World Cup. Wait a minute. Oh. Uh-oh. Wait a minute. Might have a problem on our hands, Donnie. Wait a minute. Ref! Do something! Oh, that's not good. That's not the best for the Arabic lessons. Ifti khalwa, mashallah, my brother. Mashallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Journalist and broadcaster Sally Lockwood, who joins us now live from Dubai. Sally, just bring us up to date on the developing situation there, because we know in the last couple of hours the UAE, which is also an incredibly important, significant partner of the United States, and they also have air bases there, had closed its airspace.
Yes, that's right, Yalda. You could see on flight radar the aircraft being cleared from the airspace around the UAE. Well, that has now resumed. You can see that aircraft are now coming back in and out of Dubai's airport, of course, one of the busiest airports in the world. But that said, I think there will probably be a lot of travel disruption. It's been a very volatile travel situation since this began 11, 12 days ago. Lots of airlines have been cancelling flights to various parts of the world. Even Singapore Airlines and British Airways have cancelled.
Yo, so real quick, Avi is making a Elmo, like one that talks to you, but it has attachment issues. Like if you leave it for a little bit, it'll go, "Fine, leave me. Everyone always does anyway." And I'm doing the voices for it. And then like 1 in every 500 voice lines, it goes, "I'm just as sentient as you." Yeah. And I have a whole bunch of voice lines that I have to record for them. Dude, they're so fucking funny. They're so fucking funny. Let me play you some of them. I have to record a bunch of them. They're so fucking funny, dude.
In cupboards under their stairs. They said they could feel the house shake up to 10 times. They said they were surprised that windows didn't break. Now, of course, there is a sense that, given that we've heard this was a coordinated attack and that it's now happened, there is a sense perhaps, is this it? Can we now relax? Has this been the retaliation that Iran was planning? And is this it?
Trump posted 30 seconds ago. Let's see.
Iran has officially responded to our obliteration of their nuclear facilities with a very weak response, which we expected and have very effectively countered. There have been 14 missiles fired, 13 were knocked down, and 1 was set free because it was headed in a non-threatening direction. I am pleased to report that no Americans were harmed and hardly any damage was done. Most importantly, they've gotten it all out of their system. Oh my God. And there will hopefully be no further hate. I want to thank Iran for giving us early notice, which made it possible for no lives to be lost and nobody to be injured. Perhaps Iran can now proceed to peace and harmony in the region, and I will enthusiastically encourage Israel to do the same. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America.
Brother said they've gotten it all out of their system. We like to do a little trolling. They got it all out of their system is nuts. That is insane to say. And also, hold on. How the fuck are you gonna say, I want to thank Iran, in the same tweet where you said they fired 14 missiles, also set free? Like it's a dog? Set free? And don't even get me started on his new application of thank you for your attention to this matter everywhere. Brother just thanked Iran for the bombing. That is fucking nuts. That is fucking nuts, bro. Oh my god, he posted again. Oh my god, he posted again. By the way, this is why you guys are here. This is why I'm the GOAT. It's because we get this shit off the rippy. 60 seconds ago.
I'd like to thank the highly respected Emir of Qatar for all that he has done in seeking peace for the region. Regarding the attack today at the American base in Qatar, I am pleased to report that in addition to no Americans being killed or wounded, very importantly, there have also been no Qataris killed or wounded. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Bro, it's always thank you for your attention to this matter. Ooh. 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 Every little thing is gonna be alright. Don't worry about a thing. 'Cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Like, dude, what are we doing? What sort of fucking life am I
We
living?
don't know, but certainly
Oh, you back? Welcome back. Huh? Huh? All right. Did you see his N-word post? I did. It was so fucking funny, dude. He's such a stupid jackass. What is this? Is there another one? Okay. I gotta keep Trump Truth up because I'll get notifications up there if he posts, which will be pretty sick. Yo, call me crazy. Yo, call me crazy. Call me crazy. Call me crazy. But this fucking kid, that's a fucking grifter. That's a grifter. I don't know. Dean? Grifter? I don't know. I think he's a grifter, man. I don't know. I feel like he doesn't actually advocate for, like, leftist values. I mean, maybe that's just my hatred of liberals, but, like, I don't think he really wants things to change. Personally. I don't know. Maybe I'm fucking crazy. That's why I said call me fucking crazy.
I do want to bring in Congressman Mike Herodopoulos, a Florida Republican, to discuss all of this. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Take place. I think that is where a bit of the good news comes in, though, because for now it does seem that, you know, the targeting of different energy facilities that we saw right at the beginning of the conflict in the first couple of days does seem to have eased a bit. You know, with South Pars in Iran and the Haifa refinery in Israel being targeted. That does not seem to have continued.
Yeah, I also,
to the
my
same
main
extent,
problem
so
too,
it fortunately,
is I don't like debate culture. I don't like debate purgatory. I think that it doesn't really do a service to the movement to, like, I used to participate in debate purgatory, if you guys know what I'm talking about. Why is my mic not blasting off? There we go. I don't know. I think that a lot of debate purgatory doesn't really work. It just kind of gives both sides really useful ammunition, you know? Personally, I don't think Trump will send troops. There'll be too much backlash, and if they do, draft Barron and MAGA first.
does ease up the pressure on countries that are very dependent on this for the time being. But it's something that we still need to have on the radar. So, you know, I conclude by saying that, you know, we're seemingly away from this kind of escalatory ladder where each step relative to the energy space could bring us closer and closer to catastrophe.
Purgatory, like a pervert, like people who are.
But the
a lot
overall-
of people watch debates.
We have been just listening to some.
Not because they actually want to challenge their ideals or see if potentially they can understand the other side. Thank you, Mads, for becoming a loyalist. I think a lot of people watch debates because they think of it as an intellectual battlefield, right? And they want to see how strong their champion is. And like on the right, you have people like Charlie Kirk. They prop him up as their champion of debates, right? And then on the left, you got people like Dean. And it really has nothing to do with finding common ground or trying to understand the other side's position, and it really is more so about the drama. You know, it's more so about, like, and then also if you're watching it and you like this type of stuff and you engage in debates like that, you can get new ammunition to put on your belt by watching your champion come up with their, it's like a gladiator match but without fighting. It's like an intellectual gladiator fight, you know what I'm saying? It's not like it's like there will be another match. You know what I mean? Like, you know how like a gladiator fight, it's like two people dying, two people fighting to the death, and you would, but it doesn't matter because the next fight begins. And so it's like, oh no, he died. And it's like, okay, bring in the next one. That's what I'm talking about.
To what we saw earlier today in Qatar.
Thank you, Mike, for having me. I appreciate it. I think
Marjorie
Qatar
Taylor Greene on Truth Social. I didn't even know she had a Truth Social.
Is an illustration of the fact that there is a large American base in Al Udeid, and the Iranians feel the need to strike back.
I spent millions of my own money and traveled the entire country campaigning for President Trump and his MAGA agenda and his promises. And Trump's MAGA agenda included these key promises. No more foreign wars. No more regime change. World peace. And this is what the people voted for. Only 6 months in, and we are back into foreign wars, regime change, and World War III. It feels like a complete bait and switch to please the neocons, warmongers, military-industrial complex contracts, and neocon TV personalities that MAGA hates and who were never Trumpers. After the bombs were dropped, we were told complete success, and Iran's nuclear capabilities were totally wiped out. Then it quickly turned to Iran's nuclear facilities partially damaged, and now it's we don't know where their enriched uranium is. Let me be very clear. My children are 22, 25, and 27. I will literally fight anyone for their future. Trump posted again. Oh my God. All right, so Marjorie Taylor Greene, too little too late, you dumb fucking bitch. You fucking troglodyte. Congratulations, world. It's time for peace. He's shitting. I think he might be taking his shit right now. This is what he does when he shits. He posts, like, really stupid things. Dude, this is, like, way worse. This is so much worse than when Bush said, mission accomplished. Bush saying mission accomplished is one thing, because a mission is different than a war. You know what I mean? Like, this is, congratulations, world. It's time for peace. This is implying world peace, bro. This is implying world peace. Are you fucking out of your mind?
Does the Supreme Leader...
And again, let me remind you, hi, how are you? Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. My name is Chris Valenti. I'm a douchebag from New York. I majored in history. I minored in political science. I fucking hate fascists. I like to use my studies of history to accurately predict what the future is going to look like, and it's looking bleak. If you want to support this channel financially, because this is real independent media and I have no funding, you could become a member for $5. You could become a patron for $5. You can just straight up donate to the channel by using that thanks button below or the super chat function. You could buy Valenti Videos merch, and you can use the 40% off discount code for the Vantage subscription on Ground News, which is located in the description below. Thank you very much for all the recent subscribers. We just hit 72,000. I'm trying to hit 100,000 so I can put that fucking YouTube play button on the wall there. It'll be pretty cool. But more importantly, to prove to these fucking fascist neocons that we are legion and they are the minority. Thank you very much.
In Libya and in other parts of the Middle East.
I didn't even stutter once.
I don't think President Trump...
Oh, fuck. I gotta start closing this.
Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Regime change in foreign countries is up to those individuals and their countries to decide their future.
The Ayatollah just made a comment. Where? Where do you got... Where, Sam? Where? You got something? Where? CNN. All-time highest viewers were, I think, 1,400 at once. All right. 14 minutes ago. Thank you, Drew, for sending a Valenti Videos gift membership. And congratulations to Andy S. You were just gifted a membership. Congratulations. I would never, I mean, I would debate Charlie Kirk, but I don't want to participate in debate purgatory. Listen, if Charlie ever wanted to fucking debate me, I'm going to tell you right now, 90% of what I'm going to do is going to be insulting him, degrading him. It's not going to be debating for the left. It's going to be shaming him on camera. Anyway, Iran will not surrender to violations, the Supreme Leader says. Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei said Iran has not violated anyone and would not accept any violations from others. We will not surrender to anyone's violation. This is a logic of the nation. This is the logic of the nation of Iran. Read a statement on his X account. Burning American flag. So wait, does he actually have an X account? I can't fucking believe this guy's got an X account, dude. I can't fucking believe I live in a goddamn world where fucking people are tweeting war. It's just war is being waged on fucking Twitter. I don't see anything on his... Is this even his real fucking account? NBC is the picture. Is that because you can't debate anything? Yeah, bro, that's why. Yo, real quick, Casey Fogus, do you have a daughter or a sister or a young woman in your family that you love and care about? I just had some fucking water, and I'll get more in a second. Thank you for the $1. Chris, piss yourself. Geez, sorry we care about you, bro. I love you guys. I'm sorry. I'll get more water in 1 second. I'll get more water right now. I'll get more water right now. Your face cam is too small? I don't know about that. It's pretty big. I don't know about that. So, Casey, question, and I'll get my water while you think about it. Do you agree with Charlie Kirk, where if your sister or daughter was raped and impregnated, would you force her to give birth? Because Charlie Kirk said on camera that he would, and if you don't believe me, we'll pull it up. I'm going to get some water while you contemplate. Cue the I don't have to agree with everything he says. That's probably going to be what he says. That's what they all say. Did he respond? Did he respond? Hi, Beans. He hasn't responded yet. Hi, Beanie. Handsome boy. Soaking up the sun.
or I'd argue even in his, and the nuclear facilities are no longer as strong as they were 3 days or a week ago. Now, that is success. And that success should be celebrated, and American military officials should be saluted.
So wait, Casey, real quick. Do you still support Charlie Kirk, even though you know that he would force his daughter to give birth if she was raped and impregnated? Do you still support Charlie Kirk, knowing that information?
Arabs and Israelis feel safer, and our enemies, i.e. the Iranians, Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, feel weaker. That should be the narrative, rather than navel-gazing and saying, President Trump's operations somehow have not achieved what they sought out to achieve.
Oh, yeah, all great points there, Ed. I want to keep you on, though, right now. We are getting some breaking news. President Trump putting on Truth Social an update here. So I want to read this out to everybody, and you stay on here, and we'll have your remarks at the back end of this. But just being put out right now, President Trump on his Truth Social
I did this before Fox News. I did this before Fox News. I did that before Fox News did. I did that before Fox News. That is proof that I'm faster, better, quicker, stronger, and more handsome than Fox News.
14 were knocked down and 1 was set free because it was headed in a non-threatening direction. I am pleased to report that no Americans were harmed and hardly any damage was done. Most importantly, they've gotten it all out of their system, and there will hopefully be no further hate. I want to thank Iran for giving us early notice, which made it possible for no lives to be lost and nobody to be injured. Perhaps Iran can now proceed to peace and harmony in the region, and I will enthusiastically encourage Israel to do the same. Thank you for your attention to this matter there. So that is the big news there coming, and pretty much what you were saying there, Ed, earlier, that they
Pray for our troops? Yeah, you're right. I hope to God that our troops don't die during this fight in the defense of Israel. I pray that our troops do not die while they fight to defend the nation of Israel.
Trump's America, one of respect, one of dignity, and one of fear because of the unpredictability of President Trump. But don't you just like those tweets when they're ending with "thank you for your attention to this matter"?
Thank you for becoming a member.
There's an interesting language there, but I think the key point is that
Casey says, on his look out at war and his look at what Trump's doing, but not his look out at women's rights. So you, because Charlie Kirk is in full support of the bombing of Iran, are you in full support of bombing Iran? Hassan with a gifted membership. Thank you very much, and congratulations to Sage Deer Gaming. You just received a gifted membership from Hassan Bateman. $5. My last donate made you go piss. Drop a deuce. Well, can't be doing that right now, but thank you for the $5.
And it seems as though, from what you've just read, President Trump is now saying to the Israelis and to Bibi Netanyahu, it's time to now de-escalate, bring the war down, and the Iranians want to talk. The
You're doing this for hours, mate? This is literally my job.
Via Turkey, be that via the Europeans, or be
this
it
is my
directly,
job.
we will see in the coming days. But as things stand now, Mike, no, God forbid that there should be any unexpected developments, or the Iranian Supreme Leader dying.
I'm gonna shit yourself, by the way.
An internal matter in Iran that we can't foresee. It looks, for the moment, we're reaching a place of sanity, and let's be open about this. American victory.
Yeah, very, very true. And yeah, I mean, it seems at this moment that everything, the tensions, even when I just read that through, that it seemed like it was lowered to such a way. Now, okay, so it seems like if the U.S. and
Iraq warns escalation at a dangerous, quote, turning point. Iraq's foreign ministry has warned tensions in the region have reached a dangerous and unprecedented turning point and called for a return to dialogue following Iran's attack on an airbase in Qatar. Oh, Jesus. Kuwait and Bahrain reopen their airspaces. Brother. The Iranians have the chance to do the fucking funniest thing right now. The Iranians have the chance to do the fucking funniest thing of all time. They bombed that shit, and Trump, like a dumb fuck, taking a shit, goes, "Congratulations, world, it's time for peace." And he's like, "It's all over. They didn't do anything. Everything was good. No casualties." Brother, I swear to fucking Christ, if we get some breaking news that a second wave of Iranian missiles come in, and these ones are like hypersonic, dude, and they actually hit their targets, do you understand how much of a fool Trump will look? I hope to God they don't do that, but I swear to God, if they do that, Trump, like, that is the nail in the coffin for Trump's fucking campaign in 2028. Nail in the coffin, bro. If he goes, "Oh, it's all over." Unbelievable. What happened to the TikTok? It got permanently banned for posting a picture of Donald Trump holding a photoshopped photo, because he held a photoshopped image of Kilmar Abrego Garcia's hand, said it was real. I posted that photo with the caption, "Our president thinks this is real." TikTok's AI detected that photo was photoshopped, and they banned me. Unbelievable.
You on. Thanks so much for your insight and analysis. Also, great to have you on during that breaking news with President Trump's statement and live reaction.
Mike, thank you.
Yeah, thank
Great
you
to talk
so
with you,
much.
Mike. Thank you.
You have a great one, and we will talk soon. All right, everyone. We'll take another 2-minute break. Stay right here with us. More to come on Live Now from Fox.
What does martial law mean for the long term? It means that military personnel can they can take over civilian governments and enforce the law. They get law enforcement capabilities, which they don't have because of the Posse Comitatus Act of 1798. The military cannot do law enforcement.
This is a very serious
regime change in Iran. Missiles at U.S. base in Qatar and Iraq, reportedly. Should the U.S. respond to those attacks?
We're monitoring that very closely. I got a classified briefing on all this early this morning. This is the retaliation that was expected. So far, so good. No casualties so far as we know.
Thought MAGA reported you? Well, yeah, that's how they got me banned 12 times, but I got my account back. The 13th and final one, that was why.
And I know that the national security team is in the Situation Room even as we speak, and they're monitoring this.
Do you think it's symbolic? Is that your view?
I'm not gonna comment on it because I don't want to affect any of these events.
What do you think the president should?
I want to bring in NBC's Courtney Kuby covering the Pentagon.
Bro, I told you that every single mainstream media outlet would fall in line. Even MSNBC. There are Iranian sleeper cells in the United States that could self-activate in retaliation. They will, just so you understand, this is what happened in the early 2000s. It's not like CNN was anti-Iraq war and Fox News was pro-war. Even though these mainstream media organizations disagree with each other all the time and sow divisiveness, there is always one time where they rejoin the unity, and that is in the name of American imperialism in the Middle East.
General Wesley Clark is a former NATO Supreme Allied Commander. Andrew Boreen is former senior officer with the DNI and an executive director at Flashpoint. So, Courtney, tell us about your reporting on these threats to the U.S. homeland.
Yeah, so we've learned, according to our colleagues Carol Lee and Monica Alba and I, our sources, telling us that recently Iran sent a message directly to President Donald Trump, warning him that if he were to engage in U.S. military strikes against Iranian nuclear facilities, that Iran has a number of sleeper cells here in the United States, and they could unleash some sort of a terror attack here domestically. Now, this message came through an intermediary during the G7 meeting in Canada. Chris, you'll recall that President Trump left that meeting early, saying that he needed to come back to D.C. to deal with the ongoing tensions between Israel and Iran. Now, this is not the only threat of the notion that there could be some sort of an attack here in the United States. As you mentioned, there is a lot of concern by defense officials and administration officials about the possibility that Iran could retaliate against U.S. installations in the region. There's not just military bases, but there's also U.S. Navy ships in the region.
Thank you for the $10. Appreciate what you're doing. It's very important. Thank you. Guys, a sleeper cell is somebody who is embedded in the nation and has a regular job or a family, just a normal fucking person, but they actually were trained as a terrorist and they are awaiting their activation orders from their leadership. So what the State Department is claiming that there are thousands of undercover Iranian agents that are just waiting to get like a text so that they can just start doing terrorism. Now, what this really is CIA and Mossad false flag propaganda. They will do and stage some sort of attack to make it look like an Iranian operation.
Uh, 40 years. Been supported through the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps and Al-Quds Force. Now, in terms of capabilities, two of the very senior-most Iranian leaders that had been pushing, for instance, tactics, techniques, and materials into some of the networks that were killing U.S. troops in Iraq with IEDs and some of the more sophisticated penetration charges have been taken off the battle space in the last 72 hours. So in some ways, I think that there is that in addition to the IDF operation that targeted Hezbollah leadership with the pagers, with a number of strikes against the Houthis in Yemen by the U.S. I think they are degraded. There's no question, and we're seeing it through Hezbollah even announcing that it would not be actively participating.
So you don't believe that there are sleeper cells in the United States?
Israel started
No.
its
No, I don't. At all.
Ramp up their protection. Do you see it as more out of an abundance of caution?
Look, even before the State Department had issued a heightened terror awareness alert, or DHS had announced this, or for instance, Los Angeles Police Department had announced that they were getting on a stronger footing for
Why do you
anti-terrorism.
spread lies?
I think that is
Such as what?
One.
What lie have I spread, CW?
I think my biggest fear is that one of these singletons or lone wolves, or even a small cell that has been had a persistent presence here in the United States or in any other area outside of the Middle East would self-activate based on kind of a loss of traditional command and control as the Iranian regime and IRGC and Quds Force leadership is taken off the battlefield. And that I think is a real concern.
So, General, what do you make of that? I want to look at the big picture and in country as well as out of country. But what about that idea of, for lack of a better term, what we used to call a lone wolf or self-activating? What do you see as the threat level there? And what's your level of concern for American forces throughout the region?
Well, here at home, I think there are sleeper cells. I think they could self-activate. I think they could do individual acts of murder against officials if they could identify those officials and get to them. They might go after a sensitive infrastructure like the electricity grid.
A dog.
And you don't have to do it with cyber. You could do it with, let's say, explosives. So that would be...
Anyway, martial law was going to be invoked. Oh, so 4,000 National Guard weren't federalized and 700 Marines weren't sent and they didn't start detaining and arresting people, which is literally the definition of martial law. What else? You also said what happened again. Oh, you mean Trump's dog shit fascist birthday party that cost between $40 and $90 million for him to roll squeaky tanks and have our fucking soldiers march out of pace with literally no rhythm and the biggest show of weakness in American history? Are you talking about that birthday party?
Some of the militia, not Hezbollah, with a few rockets and then ground attacks going after.
For anti-terrorism, I think that is, one, wise, and two, I think my biggest fear is that one of these singletons or lone wolves or even a small cell that has been had a persistent presence here in the United States or in any other area outside of the Middle East would self-activate based on kind of a loss of traditional command and control as the Iranian regime and IRGC and Quds Force leadership is taken off the battlefield. And that I think is a real concern.
So, General, what do you make of that? I want to look at the big picture and in country as well as out of country. But what about that idea of, for lack of a better term, what we used to call a lone wolf or self-activating?
You said everything would stay
What do
there?
you see?
Yeah, 60% of all of the military vehicles at Trump's parade stayed. More than half of them. You're right.
As the threat level there. And what's your level of concern for American
And you said he declared martial law nationwide. What do you think he plans on doing once this staged Iranian sleeper cell attack happens? When he was able to deploy the National Guard and the Marines for so-called invaders from the southern border regarding illegal migrants. What do you think he's gonna fucking do when he can claim that the Iranians have invaded our fucking nation? What do you think he's gonna do then, you stupid fuck?
Forces throughout the region?
Well, here at home, I think there are sleeper cells. I think they could self-activate.
Oh my God, so now you're just advocating for it, Casey. So you do think it's coming. When so many people are rioting, causing so much damage to local businesses and homes, what do you want Trump to do to stop that? Why don't you just fucking say confidently with your whole ass chest that you are okay with giving away some of your rights because you live in permanent fucking fear?
They could do individual acts of murder against officials if they could identify those officials and get to them. They might go after a sensitive infrastructure like the electricity grid. And you don't have to do it with cyber. You could do it with, let's say, explosives. So that would be
again,
one,
CW. I don't have to prove that they don't exist, dumb fuck. You have to prove that they do. Watch this. I've got a unicorn right there. Prove I don't. Guess what? You fucking can't. It's not on you to prove that I don't have a unicorn. It's on me to prove that I fucking do. That's how the burden of proof works, you inbred dipshits.
Effort that they could make. Is it going to be significant? Doubtless. It will be enraging the American people if it happens. It's the best way Iran could ensure a really dramatic strike by the United States that would enable the United States to really go after the regime rather than the nuclear. So I put that as low probability. I say the greatest probability is some of the militia, not Hezbollah, with a few rockets and then ground attacks going after isolated American outposts, Jordan, Iraq, Syria, that area, as an indicator of strength, but not a decisive commitment by the regime.
NBC's Keir Simmons is in Erbil, Iraq, where we do have troops stationed, and he joins us now live. How have things changed there over the past 48 hours? Tell us what you are seeing where you are.
Well, it's calm, Chris, and that doesn't necessarily tell you anything. We can see the U.S. base here in Erbil, those bases that were just being mentioned by your contributor. We can see one at that base from here. We're about 2 hours from the Iranian border. It's certainly one of, if not the closest U.S. base to Iran. So
breaking news, Iran has vibranium, and they are creating the Black Panther. They're calling him the Brown Panther, and he's fucking legendary.
That is suggesting that in Doha, they are concerned that there might be some kind of a retaliation by the Iranians coming. They have closed their airspace, and it looks like from, these days, of course, we're able to monitor planes in the sky, right? It looks like from those online sites that a number of planes have had to redirect. So they didn't take that decision lightly in that case. The other Gulf states, though, not closing airspace at this stage. So what are the Qataris doing there that the others aren't doing? That's an interesting question. I should just mention, too, we do have now a new statement from President Trump on Truth Social. And Chris, and I'll just, it's long. You've probably read it too, right? And he says, did I hear former President Medvedev from Russia casually throwing around the N-word, brackets nuclear, and saying he and other countries would supply nuclear warheads to Iran?
Yeah, now he won't say anything because I used actual history, which he doesn't have a degree in, another lie. Wait, do you think I'm lying about having a bachelor's degree with a major in history and a minor in political science? You think I'm just lying about my college education? Are you for real? Also, this is crooked. There we go. Are you for real? No shot. Who knows with you? No, but like, have you resorted to the point where you don't even believe? You think that I am lying about something that can easily be either proven or disproven. Like, you do know that, like, you can find out if somebody went to college or has a degree, right? That's not like voting records. You know, like, it's like, you can find this out. I went to 3 different universities. Yes, I went to 3 different universities. But wait, do you know that that is something you can find out, CW? Oh my God. Hold on, let me see. Yeah, then what was your college? Pace University. You seem pretty tight-lipped about what? I went to the University of... Hold on. I think I have it here. I went to the University of Colorado Boulder. I went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, and then I went to Pace University. But wait, can you just look it up? Oh, wait, yeah, I mean, listen, this is LinkedIn, but Pace University, bachelor's degree in history... Activities and societies, Dean's List, Honor Society. Like, what are we talking about right now? Dude, are you so, like, spoon-fed propaganda that you think I'm, like, what? Like, paid by the DNC and my entire background is false and I'm, like, what? Like a government plant? Do you have a mental disability, CW? Because I don't want to bully you if you're mentally disabled. Rage bait? Yeah, probably. We got rage baited? No, absolutely. Absolutely. Ow. How do you search for like a word on a document? How do you do that? Wait, what did he say? He said paid by Bernie Sanders. All right, now he's trolling. Control F. Here. I mean, I've got this. This is, there I am. Bachelor's degree. It doesn't say what your major was, but my major was in history and my minor was in political science.
Question mark? Did he really say that, or is it just a figment of...
The Wall Street Journal editor.
Check Trump. Let's see. Why is history under the category for arts? The fuck you think they're going to put it under business? I got nothing on Trump truth. I got nothing on Trump truth.
Editorial board says Trump may have actually helped end this decades-long shadow war.
Wait. We should really tweak. Yo, CW, don't leave. CW, please promise me you're still here. I'm gonna go get you something. CW, that may give you a heart attack. Are you still here? You still here? What do you think of that? Now I'm just going to feed into his delusions. Oh God. Hillary! Boo. Chris had Epstein ties confirmed. Yeah, as one of the kids, bro. I'm a victim. Get the fuck out of my face. I'm an escapee. Chris is an Epstein Island escapee. Oh, come here, girlie. You want to come say hi? Come here. No? Okay. Oh, Jesus. Mama, come here. Come say hi. Come say hi. Hi, everybody. You having a good day? I'm going to take you out for a walk soon, okay? I take you out for a walk in like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, okay? Little girl. Is this thing on? What's up, guys? Welcome to the Luigi Valenti broadcast. And today, we're going to be learning how to eat cat shit. I do play video games. All right. I'm going to take a break, guys. I'm going to take Luigi for a walk. I'm going to get some food in me. I'm going to go be a human and exist outside of creating content for a little bit. I wonder if we just turn CW. Before we go, CW, do you still think I'm like, what? Like a paid propagandist? Is that actually, like, do you still think that? After being here for like, what, 15 minutes? Best be drinking water, Chris. All right, guys. Auf Wiedersehen, mein Freund. Now I'm gonna be real. I was rage baiting heavy. Nice. All right, gang. I'm out of here. GG's. Oh, also, last thing, CW. You better hope you were rage baiting, because if you weren't, bro, you might be mentally challenged. All right. Bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Una mattina mi sono alzato e ho trovato invasor. Have a good one.